Hey everybody, what is going on? I wanted to let you know that you should text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Again, that's Canary to 877-740-3226. Go on now, go ahead, get on our text message alert program. And I'm going to have to push this a little bit further, Gons, because I just realized there are so many people who have joined the text message alert system that I am having to upgrade our plan here live on the air. Very inconvenient, but it's just going to take me a few more seconds, a few more clicks. We're going to make it happen. Are we? Can he do it? Can he do it? He's pressing the buttons. Is it working? Pay now. Look at that. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do, folks. I'm going to go ahead and try to send out this other text message here. Look at that. Yeah. Looks like not. Looks like I didn't do a good job. Looks like I got to try again. Okay, so I'm going to try again. Look at us. We're trying to start this show faster because here's the thing. I get it. You're here. You're like, what am I doing? What am I watching here? I'm just looking at a thing, waiting for a guy to do a thing. And we understand. I totally understand the issue. And so we're trying to start fast, and it's not working, and I don't know what to do about it. Why did they make this so difficult? I don't know. Do I need to upgrade our card? Do I need to update the card? No, the card's fine. Isn't this just how it goes, folks? It's just how it goes. And they don't make it easy. They're not making it easy on me. So let me try this. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on this. Text us. There it is. I did it. Good thing. Good news, folks. I did it twice. I paid too much money for double the messages, but we're doing it. But so you should get a text message that'll make sure you know to always get the show. Don't count on you know the thing. Text us at that number. That's the thing. Everybody loves sending a text. I'll read some text on the show later. Here, I'm going to send the text right now. There it goes. All the text message people are going to be coming to the show. And with that, I'm just waiting for the confirmation that it's sending, and it's taking a second. It doesn't matter how badly we want to start on time. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you a little rundown of the show, and we're going to get started. You're here, I'm here, folks. We're here together, and this is what you have to look forward to here. Let's go ahead and change our visual here, Gonzo. Here we go. It's not going to do it. There we are. Are we connected? We're not connected. Here we go. There's a saboteur in the Democrat establishment. Blowback from J.D. Vance memes clinches Vance 2028. X gets hit with a cyber pandemic, and the Tesla protests are heating up like a Cybertruck bonfire. The U.S. Bitcoin reserve is official. The shills on MSNBC say Ukraine is more American than Americans. Kim Jong-un is hiding his military bases where? In golf courses. Newsom drops his new podcast as Charlie Kirk gives the Democrats just what they need for a comeback. Woolly mice today, woolly mammoths tomorrow. It's Jurassic Park speed run, folks. All this and more. This is Canary Crying News Talk, and let's start the show. The show starts now. Go, quick. It's showtime, baby.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crying News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crying News Talk. Today is March 10th, 2025. We are on episode 821, Live to Tape, XYBERPANDEMIC XIGILS. And signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle, I'm your best buddy, Basil. And you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the land of Newsome, to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's immersion phenomenon is better stated by our good friend, Mr. Klaus Schwab.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic.
It's
Basil,
happening.
I realize that you and I were either going to be very resilient during the oncoming cyber pandemic, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to be
Every episode
gonna
is a cyber pandemic over here. Every single one.
It's true. It's true. Why? Why is it so painful? Why is it so difficult?
We're trying to do better. We're trying. It takes time. Again, it's part of the anti-AI filtering process. That's how you know that these are real human beings. Yes, Gon's up on the screen has a beautiful new meme by one of our brilliant meme crafters over there at canarycry.art, which is Mr.
I believe
Bean.
it was Psalm 40 is the one that sent this.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Psalm 40. It's Mr. Bean on top of a yellow European-looking car with a lazy
Fiat?
boy just making it
car.
happen. He's got some straps in his hands that presumably are attached to the steering wheel, and it's Gonzo operating the soundboard, which is a poignant reminder of just what's going on around here. Just in case anybody was tempted to think too highly of us, you know, it's very...
Or that we're AI bots just
Very
making
important.
content.
Very important for us to stay humble and for everybody else to be reminded to have realistic expectations of what to expect from a show like this that is run entirely by humans on the live. So big ol' shout out to everybody on the text message alert program. If you're not on it yet, get on it now. Text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Of course, you're going to get messages before every show, so you don't miss one. We know that the YouTubes and the Rumbles, they don't like sending our notifications very often. But of course, the real reason people join this list is so they can send us text messages, which is a nice little task before the show. Everybody is getting dozens and dozens of text messages to try to keep up with. And here's the thing. I read them all. I love them all. We read them on the show. I'll just give you this one from Runk Smash, who says, love y'all, especially my fellow 360s. Gotta have a meetup. 360s. Oh, the 360s. This is another fun part of the text message alert system is you can start hearing messages from people in your area. Just to mention, since Runk Smash said he's a 360, here's another 360. Says, praise Jesus. Can't wait for this one today. Stevesy. So see Runk Smash and Stevesy. They can become best friends or apocalypse buddies. So text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, including the podcast listeners. Even if you're not a live listener, this is a great way to make sure that if something goes horribly wrong, which it often does, you won't be left behind.
I don't know why we just can't go live on X anymore. It's just not a thing that happens. Like every episode for the last 2 or 3.
We haven't fixed the problem.
Connect. No.
Maybe
it
let's
fixed
change...
itself last time. Last time it just said it'll connect soon, and then it took like a half hour and it connected.
Weird.
So
what if
I don't know what's going on with X.
So I see you have it set to your X account. What if we set it to the Canary
Yeah,
Cry
we tried
account?
it. We tried that last time.
Well, here we are. We're back, folks. It's been, I had a very pleasant weekend, which doesn't always happen. And there's no reason for that, except for, I think the sun is shining, and this is making a huge difference in the way that reality sort of unfolds around me. Gons, is the sun shining down by you?
No.
Okay.
They sprayed the chemtrails a couple weeks ago, and then it got really hot for a weekend, like summer hot. And then back to rain and cloudy and, very cold. So, yeah, they're messing with us. They're bringing us up. They're bringing us down. You know, they're getting ready for the blue beam, you know. We're just waiting for Jesus to appear in the sky so we can all bend a knee and take the mark.
Weather engineering is social engineering.
It is, absolutely.
Something very important to remember. Of course, you know, crashing the financial markets or crypto, another great way to control the sentiment of people around the world.
Yeah, we'll
but
get into that.
Good old-fashioned geoengineering, good old-fashioned weather control is still the best way to control the minds of the people.
Especially in California, where everyone thinks that things are going to be all right because Trump made it into office. You know, you're very optimistic about Trump and what he's doing, and then you look up and you're reminded when that airplane is flying across with those big old fat
grid
clouds. Yeah, and they just keep going over and over, and then there's a path, you know, and they do it over and over again. So anyway, yeah, that was my That's been my last couple weeks, and over the weekend it was nice and cold, nice and chilly.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that the minds of the American people are also trapped under a grid of ever-expanding cloud cover. And this is usually done by controlling the online environment. And as I'm trying to get into the show here, my entire virtual reality thing is just gone.
I told you, cyber pandemic. I think this
really
is a bigger one than
this is
normal.
crazy. Everything just disappeared. So, Gons, why don't you tell everybody about the value for value model real quick?
Are you literally in the dark?
No, I'm not in the dark. It's just I'm in a very beautiful courtyard with weird butterflies flying around, and I've got a great sort of vista of mountains over there, but all of my windows to actually do the show just happened to crash at just the worst possible time. So I'm going to try to get this started again. But while that happens, why don't we tell people about the value for value model real quick and thank some executive producers?
Sure. Yeah. So the value for value model, that's how we operate this program. That means we don't do advertisements. We don't have affiliate codes. We don't have any products to sell you, and we don't sell your attention to some third party. So, we've been doing it for a long time. We're against this whole global theology of advertising, especially when you get into the occult, all that kind of stuff, where you find the methods of not so nice people using advertising as a way to control the masses and, make you want to buy things you don't need and
there
things
we
of
go.
that nature.
I'm back.
So,
Look at that. And people say I take a long time to explain it. You did a great job of filling the time. I rebooted my entire computer, got back on, hacked the system, back in the VR world, Tron style, and just in time to thank our executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right, folks. Time, talent, or treasure, whatever value you get from the show over any period of time, you can return that with your time, talent, or treasure. It doesn't matter how you do it, but the executive producers are those who come in, support the show for $100 or more for any individual episode, and we thank them here at the top. Starting with the one, the only, the mysterious executive producer Anonymous. Gone.
Where'd you find this?
Bankroll out the bankroll I spend.
Is this the group Anonymous, or is this just
no,
Anonymous?
just a wonderful anonymous executive producer who
Excellent.
wished to not be named. They sent a wonderful message, which was filled with personally identifying information. So I'm not going to read the message, but they came in with a nice round number, which means we won't read it on the air. Just something to keep in mind, folks, when you're producing the show. If you produce for a nice round number, that's you saying, hey, I prefer you don't disclose the amount on the air. This person, super secret, anonymous person, anonymous amount, but they sent I was very uplifted by their note because they were maybe lamenting is a strong word, but they were taking a step of faith in that they had not been in their description a very consistent giver. Not just to the show, but to God's work on earth. And they had received a bonus from work, which was a huge blessing, and wanted to pass on the blessing because they find the Canary to be one of the most spiritually profitable investments that they have made, and said lots of nice things about this. But they were decrying the fact that being faithful with your 10%, with your tithe, if this is something that's part of your theology, it can be super easy to get out of it. It's the easiest thing in the world to ignore it and not participate in that particular way of sustaining God's work on earth. And getting back into it can be a little bit painful, but it's a step of faith. And I want to let this person know that I'm very impressed, praying for them, with them, and totally understand how it is. There's very few people who at least have let us know that they consider Canary Cry, enough of a spiritual family to direct giving, biblical giving to the show, and we take that very seriously. So thank you very much for that step of faith. And yes, every show is also a big step of faith for Gons and I, and we're always amazed by how God seems to do the things that are required to sustain our life and the life of our producers to keep everything going here. So very impressive. Thank you very much, Executive Producer Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous. Yeah, this show would definitely not be around if it wasn't for the good Lord.
No,
The good Lord making things happen.
And this, the producer segment of this show is going to be great for two reasons. It's wonderful. It's a opportunity because since last Wednesday, very few producers who are not monthly producers came in to support the show. Before this exact moment, it was literally just this executive producer, with the exception of this exact moment in the past 3 and 4 minutes, we had a couple other executive producers coming in. The one, the only executive producer, Sir LX Protocol, Baron of the Berean Protocol.
Where'd you find this?
Bankroll after bankroll, I spend.
Thank you very much for that. Of course, Sir Alex Protocol is on a 376 episode streak and a 29 episode executive producer streak. Very impressive. And also the one, the only Sir Jamie, not the Lannister, coming in.
Where'd you find this?
Bankroll after bankroll, I spend.
Thank you, Sir Jamie.
Thank you very much, Sir Jamie. There you go. That's the executive producers for today's show. Thank God for these people. Thank them personally. Send them a nice thank you note directly to their home. And if not, a carrier pigeon will do for keeping this show going. All right, Gons, time to get to the news. Ready?
Let's do it.
I shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
Okay, so the first topic, Gons, this has fully saturated the minds of the entire internet, and so I think it must be remarked upon, especially because it was so fully saturating the entire internet that the mainstream media even had to start writing about it as its own big news story, which says a lot about the propagandistic strategy of flooding the zone with silly information to keep people distracted from what's really going on. But it also is a very interesting breakdown of the mimetic war that we see going on every day. We know that we are in a fifth generation war situation where it is not a simple battlefield with kinetic movements. It's not insurgency strategies. No, this is a war for the minds and the hearts of the people. The most effective warfare strategy in modern times, and one that is going on at every moment of the day, which we are all familiar. We are currently at war, and anybody who does not recognize that is not paying attention. But the fifth generation war, of course, is fought mainly in the media, in the digital space, and therefore in the cognitive processes of humanity, of individual humans all together experiencing reality in a coordinated way through
the collective
acts.
Minds.
Well, you see, that's where they get you, Gons. It is happening in each and every individual mind, but the consensus reality is created on purpose by the magicians of the narrative that control the way everybody sees what's going on. And memes are a huge part of this. Yes, we've talked about the meme wars, the meme magic, and we've also talked about how I am absolutely convinced that the Democrat Party has a saboteur in their digital media strategy here. I believe that they recognize correctly that the right is significantly more effective at being fine on the internet, not even genius moves, but just the old school ability to create political theater, but doing it on a grand scale on the internet is an entirely different skill set, one which the Democrats do not have. However, they keep trying. We saw the Choose Your Fighter cringe-worthy video last week from the Squad and others, and we, of course, witnessed the complete lunacy of the holding up signs at the quote-unquote State of the Union address, which created endless memeable content. And now, Gons, I'm here to share with you the latest volley, the latest battle in the meme wars. And that is the J.D. Vance memes. I'm going to start out with coverage from Slate. Actually, yeah, no, you have the right thing pulled up here. Just to give people kind of an example, I gave you that link there, Gons, specifically because if you go down the comment section, you can see the sort of endless examples of the J.D. Vance memes. And we will get the history of this, but those who are watching, you got J.D. Vance as Neo, J.D. Vance as Chucky, J.D. Vance as the Pulp Fiction guy, J.D. Vance as the Trailer Park Boys. You got J.D. Vance as a CAPTCHA image if you're trying to log into your online banking, and it has a grid of different J.D. Vances. You got to pick. Indeed, people... the millions and millions of J.D. Vance memes, which have now saturated the landscape, have people wondering, what exactly does the real J.D. Vance even look like anymore? And some of them, yes, are pretty disturbing. Some of them are pretty impressive. Others just have you asking why.
J.D. Vance Lincoln. I like this one.
I'm going to give you Slate's take on this.
Okay, let's
Slate,
hear it.
of course,
Slate,
being
give it
a
to
sort
us.
of leftist magazine here to try to give some hope to the left about what is going on with the J.D. Vance memes. The latest trend online must be simply devastating for J.D. Vance. Simply devastating, Gons.
Devastating.
James David Vance is an American vice president. Is an American vice president, not the American vice president.
Wow.
He's a hillbilly, an elegist, and a Yale Law School graduate, but Vance is also a millennial, a scroller, and a poster. Even from his newfound perch on Pennsylvania Avenue, the Veep logs onto X to vent. Quote, "These people are such idiots," he wrote of the New York Post Tuesday. The day prior, he posted the Pepe Sylvier meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, asserting that Senator Chris Murphy is engaging in conspiracy theories about Trump's coziness with Vladimir Putin. And he recently posted a few fire emojis to express his pleasure at the Senate confirmation of FBI Director Kash Patel.
No, not fire emojis. No.
He's
Such a horrible
He's so
person.
savvy. He's so internet savvy. He used the fire emoji. In other words, Vance speaks the language of the millennial internet. So the latest social media trend must be simply devastating for him.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so
Wait.
you can
Is
see
this
that
person in a cave somewhere?
Bizarro world.
What in the world are they?
Scott
Okay.
Nover
They
at
have to
Slate
be-
is
they have to be
living
making this up.
in
They're
an
making it up.
entirely invented world that has
There's no
almost no relation to the reality of what's going on, just in general with the internet. And this is mirroring the fact that the left just literally has no idea what is going on the internet. Now, this could possibly have something to do with the fact that the internet and digital media has made quite literal what we may have previously talked about, maybe allegorically or metaphorically, but quite literally, you've got the human beings living in entirely different dimensions of reality. If reality is made up, or if if reality is what you as an individual perceives to be reality, and what you perceive to be reality is controlled through your language, and you're getting language fed to you primarily through the media and the internet, boy, oh boy, you are literally in a different dimension. And this is clear by the way that Slate is writing about this. Thankfully, some other outlets have caught on and have much better idea of what's going on. But let me just give you a little bit more of Slate to give you some of the interdimensional perspective.
Reporting.
Yeah. Images of Vance have sprouted up on X, contorting his face into that of, well, everything you can imagine. This week, pictures of a chubby-faced Vance were ubiquitous. Not so much a fat edit of the vice president as it is as if someone photoshopped an overweight middle schooler's countenance on his besuited figure. This pubescent Vance, this is such. I have some words that I don't
no way
regularly say on air, but this is like excruciating the way that they are writing this. It's a lot of things.
Give them an AI, please.
But good is
just
not
to
one
help
of
them
them.
write better.
I remember in high school when I found my first thesaurus and was in like creative writing class. This pubescent Vance has been adorned with a rainbow propeller hat and swirly lollipop, morphed into a patriotic minion from Despicable Me, and rendered as lisping Hans Landa, the Nazi villain from Inglourious Basterds. He is a beautiful woman, a curly-haired pufferfish of a man, a Furby, and, of course, a shrugging Kevin James. The memes are everywhere. I'll skip that. Doesn't matter. Vance has not... Now, this was written 5 days ago.
Uh-huh.
But here we go. Vance has not acknowledged these memes. I mean, why would he? But they are unavoidable for someone who spends ungodly hours on the internet each day. When the vice president scrolls on his phone, does he stare into a funhouse mirror where he's been stretched into forms one thought unimaginable?
Wow, that is... Okay.
So
no
they're painting
comment
this
on
picture.
that. Yeah,
Now,
they're painting this weird picture.
This aligns with another Democrat digital strategy, which is to go say things like, the right is going bonkers over this, whatever, leftist podcaster. Oh, the Republicans are losing their minds at what AOC said. Or Trump is fuming at this meme that, whatever, Bernie Sanders posted. This is a pretty regular sort of narrative hook that has its place in fifth generation warfare, but is so overused, much like everything the Democrats do and have done recently, so overused that it becomes basically nothing. This, of course, the perspective being promulgated in this Slate article is that JD Vance, of course, he's online. So my goodness, he must be so sad. You're getting him. Keep going. Keep memeing him. Make him feel bad because, of course, we're the left. So it's okay for us to body shame and okay for us to make fun of people by calling them gay or trans or something. It's a beautiful sort of mechanism for people who consider themselves to be on the left to out themselves as the racists and the various things. Sure.
I do think that this is also, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if it's intentional by the author here, but they are legitimizing the memes.
Yes,
like memes are just they're jokes. But like I don't know. I don't know if you wanted. You were going to read this next paragraph here.
I don't know which ones, but the Vance edits are vice. Yes, that's the next one we're doing here.
Okay.
Yes, and for those who haven't heard our long dissertation on memes over the years, you can think of memes as an individual unit of cultural data.
Right.
Is Richard Dawkins
cultural currency?
Well, yeah, kind of. Richard Dawkins came up with the term in the 1970s, and you compare it to a gene. A gene is to biology, a single code that is present in every cell of the body. A meme is like a cultural gene, a cultural piece of data that essentially expresses itself in every cell of culture, just meaning it's relatable to anybody who sees it. You sort of automatically know what's going on. Right. And so that's why memes are such a powerful social engineering force. It goes on. The Vance edits are a vice presidential body horror, a dysmorphic smattering of ridicule, seemingly from all sides of the Vance loathing political spectrum. But perhaps the sharpest barbs take aim at Vance's very real performance in the Oval Office. He berated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday, falsely claiming that the visiting leader never thanked the United States for its support in Ukraine. Quote, "Have you said thank you once?" asked Vance as the red Teletubby. Quote, "Tony, I want him taxed. He didn't say thank you," he told Tony Soprano. I don't even know what they're saying here.
No,
Quote,
they're describing the memes.
yeah, I
that
know they are,
took
but
it.
they're not giving good.
No,
they
they're
kind of
not.
just flow into it in this weird way that if
Right.
you weren't familiar with the memes, none of this would make sense. Quote, "You should have said please," Chubby Vance told off-screen Zelensky in a now iconic Oval Office pic. The reality is that Vance edits will never be as embarrassing as what the vice president said in one of our said to one of our most crucial allies. He's calling Ukraine one of our most crucial allies. We are not
I think the US
allies
is
with Ukraine. There's no alliance with Ukraine. A man who has spent years defending his country from unwarranted Russian aggression.
Oh,
The funhouse mirror can't really hurt Vance. Only he has that power. So you see the way that the left sees what's going on. Now, Slate, not necessarily, respectable outlet, but not totally unread either. I think a pretty good reflection of the worst parts of the radical sort of dimension of the left. We'll say that. One step over towards reality, not a big step, a small step. One step over towards reality. We have The Atlantic, a favorite
your
of the
favorite.
show,
Yeah.
of course. And it says, wait, who is posting those unflattering JD Vance memes? So now we have Slate presenting the like totally holographic inner world of sort of far leftist filled with hatred. The Atlantic at least is taking a second to go, hey, wait a second. Who is posting those unflattering JD Vance memes? I'll read you this intro and then I have some highlights because I don't want to repeat much stuff. JD Vance doesn't look like himself in recent days. Memes have spread across social media in which the vice president's face has been photoshopped to give him cartoonishly chubby cheeks. He looks like a bearded baby or Humpty Dumpty. Sometimes he's holding a lollipop and wearing a child's baseball cap with a propeller affixed to the top. One meme takes his edited baby face and adds lusciously curly locks, while another changes his skin tone to a gentle purple hue, making him look like a Willy Wonka-inspired human blueberry. In every image, Vance has been reanimated as an utter doofus. Whoa. Of course, people love making memes that portray their political adversaries as hapless and incompetent. That's not exactly what's happening with these images of Vance. The memes are going viral on the left-wing internet, but they are equally, if not more, popular on the right. Explicitly pro-Trump accounts on X that otherwise spend their time bashing liberals are posting embarrassing memes of their party's second in command. And you can see this perspective.
We would never on the left. We would never meme our own.
Exactly. And see what we're seeing here with The Atlantic is a little bit more of a precise view of just where the disconnect is. The Atlantic is referring to these memes as embarrassing, like they are embarrassing to Vance, as if the depiction of you on the internet is enough to, of course, a ridiculous one, by the way. I mean, one of the main characteristics of these memes is the absurdity has reached a level that it's not actually even making fun of anything. They're so random and absurd and has sort of left any, for something to hurt or to be embarrassed, like there has to be something real about it, something
Right.
true or something whatever. If you're overweight and somebody makes like a super overweight picture of you, then that can be like a little embarrassing. But what is embarrassing about having your face posted on a Furby or Shrek or whatever? Nothing. Even the use of the word embarrassing here is sort of betraying the Atlantic's, again, just fundamental misunderstanding. And this is why the left will never get it right. I'll skip a paragraph here, go here. So why is the right willing to make fun of one of its own with memes? Again, right there. One user on X who's making fun. Why is it so
it's just weird that they have to even ask that question.
It's weird. It's totally weird. Yeah. This is why I found this kind of dive valuable, because I do enjoy finding the like precise cultural differences, because you can talk to somebody who disagrees with you and you can just talk past each other for hours and hours and hours.
You don't really always identify the line that divides.
And it's these little things. Yeah, it's these little things that if you can understand these very subtle differences in understanding of the world, that's where you can start making sense of things. Otherwise, the other side just seems like absolute Looney Tunes, like no reference to reality whatsoever. So here, even the Atlantic is under the misunderstanding that making memes about someone is necessarily an attack on them. Right. So why is the right willing to make fun of its own with memes? One user on X who goes by the name Alfred the Great and frequently shares right-wing memes has been posting and reposting the unflattering viral images of the vice president. Quote, "They're just funny." He told me when I asked him about them. For what it's worth, Vance seems to agree, or at least says he does. On Thursday, he told a reporter for The Blaze that he thinks the memes are funny. Just quote, funny. That's so just keep in mind, keep in mind the actual representation of Vance's responses. Slate said he didn't respond and that he's devastated and it's horrible. The Atlantic says, quote, funny. Others on the right swear that by posting images of Vance as a man baby, they're actually helping him. Quote, "The right is having so much fun roasting Vance's baby fat that it's just completely neutered the left's capacity to make fun of him." One right-wing account, Martian Weird Lord, wrote in a post that garnered about 22,000 likes on X, quote, "This feels like a precursor to Vance's inevitable presidency."
Oh, no, talk about a backfire.
Aaron McIntyre, a prominent MAGA influencer, posted, quote, "He will have been so thoroughly memed that he becomes immune to the effect before ever taking office." And the fact that the like a couple of tweeters had this sort of wisdom on the situation that the Atlantic is totally oblivious about, shows exactly the situation. Because what we really saw here, it did start with the left making fun of Vance. Actually, no, it didn't. If you go back further in the history, it started in about October, where a right-wing person, whatever, conservative, I don't even like sort of attaching that to X users, because just because they're a pro-Trump doesn't really mean a whole lot about their exact, political alignment. But we'll just say it for the sake of conversation. A conservative tweeter posted a filtered photo of Vance, his sort of official senatorial portrait, that had the Chad filter on it, which just made Vance look just like, cartoonishly sort of handsome. That is it. That was the first one. Okay. That was the first one right there. Because Vance, he does have these sort of Midwestern corn-fed cheeks, and this pro-Vance person made him look like a Vogue model or something. And then from there, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, no, Ken Barbie.
Yeah, Ken, like a Ken doll, right. And then from there, the left saw this and go, "Oh, no way, we're going to make him ugly." And then the snowball started rolling in the opposite direction. But what we have here is what I like to think of, since we're in cyber pandemic territory, this was the right doing a DDoS attack on the left, I think, where the right saw the funny, the left says they're insulting and embarrassing or whatever. The right thinks it's funny, and it's okay to be funny. Funny stuff is funny, no matter if it's, making fun of your favorite politician or not. And so the right saw this and just absolutely exploded it. And I think it's very wise of some of these users that this person interviewed. You are going to completely vaccinate, but two things. You're going to completely vaccinate J.D. Vance from, meme warfare. He's going to exist in such an infinite, infinitely diverse, quote unquote, embarrassing amount of content online that nothing else anybody could ever create is going to be able to hurt him. He's, the immune system is already built up, not only to him, but to everybody else. Because what I saw happening here, I mean, there's literally millions of them. There's so many that people were like about to quit Twitter because they couldn't
handle it.
They couldn't get news or anything. It was just all Vance memes.
Just Vance memes.
And I saw it kind of like a training set for an AI. Like, if you want to think, we'll take Elon Musk's position that X is sort of a representative of the hive mind, of the collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
One big important thing in politics is facial recognition. Does the public recognize you? If they see you, do they know who you are? Right? Well, we have Vance appearing in so many various forms that you don't even the hive mind individuals, whatever, have been so trained on the data of how to spot J.D. Vance's face in a million various different positions and
angles and shapes,
angles,
and
situations.
yeah.
Basically, through this, they have trained the AI of the hive mind of society to have ultimate, unassailable facial recognition of Vance, sort of immediately making him one of the most recognizable people in the world, even if he's, like you see here, the Pope or a Native American chieftain or shaman or something. Yeah. So I think those are two, or a little girl with pigtails. I know it's you know who he is, folks. You see him right there. And so again, another one of these ways that through these concepts of cybernetics, and when I reference cybernetics in the early technocrat days, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even through the 80s, the occultists and the technocrats, they didn't have things like AI or neural networks.
No, they performed seances instead at the Macy's.
But they called it
event.
Cybernetics.
They
so
did.
When you say cybernetics, when I say cybernetics, I'm referring to this sort of legacy of almost 100 years of understanding of how computers, would work, and then how they do work, and then, transposing that over onto society and the populace.
Norbert Weiner talked about the loops and how the loops can create almost an everlasting mechanism. You can see how on the internet that is the thing. If you get your attention in a loop, that's what doom scrolling is. It's just a loop of just next one. It's
and the
infected the mind.
The occultists, the technocrats, the elites of the past 100 years, they know this. This is how they think, and this is how they've designed society. Terence McKenna, another great example. It wouldn't be the first time that politicos have tried something like this. The dark Brandon memes of Joe Biden and the coconut-pilled memes of Kamala Harris.
It's funny how the only memes they can ever bring up when it comes to any kind of political memes is Dark Brandon. And
exactly.
Like they don't know anything. It's almost like they first understood memes during the Biden presidency.
Exactly.
Like, cool. That's cool, right, guys? Everyone's talking about Dark Brandon. It's cool. He's cool.
Exactly.
Like
it's an embarrassing sort of impotence. It's a position of impotence that the Atlantic is, again, reflecting about the left. Like, these are core. We're talking about core fundamental flaws. Too? I think it has a little bit of both.
Maybe a little of both, yeah.
But the problem is, the reason that I think it's more sort of ideologically aligned is that the composition, maybe like the generational composition of the two sides.
Well, and you think about Vance, under the under the Trump wing, it makes perfect sense that he becomes memeified. I mean, Trump's whole thing has been built on memes and one line. I mean, you're fired.
It's
that was
what
a meme.
won him everything.
I mean, his whole thing has been memes.
Recognized phenomenon that Trump won his first election because of memes, because of meme magic, because of fifth generation warfare, whether people were calling it that or not. That's what it was. The free sort of almost cybernetic hive mind flow of memetic data being endlessly generated and shared on the internet is what won Trump the first time. And and so that, yes, that's part of the sort of spiritual legacy of Trump and his administration and his tribe here. And you can see the left here via The Atlantic doesn't get it. And yes, giving away the fact that they only just discovered memes when they tried to take Dark Brandon. It wouldn't be the first time that politicos have tried something like this. The Dark Brandon memes of the Joe Biden and coconut-pilled memes of Kamala Harris initially started out as right-wing attempts to denigrate the Democrats. Such specific references, like, they have the two. That's the thing. They have these two things that they tried to take back out of the bajillions of successful sort of anti-Democrat memes. Dark Brandon caricatured Biden's reputation on the right as doddering old man by imagining that he harbored a secret personality as a cold-blooded killer. Now, I don't want to get too specific because we got more stuff to do. But notice how the right made the Dark Brandon memes, yes, to make fun of Biden, but the joke was like, oh, he's actually a genius. He's actually a serial killer who's cold and calculated. He's not as dumb as he looks. Maybe he's a secret mastermind. That was the Dark Brandon thing. So from the beginning, the right is, yes, making fun of Biden, but like kind of imagining him as much better than he is.
Like a diabolical,
evil
genius to present himself as such a fragile, right. Yeah.
Which is different. I mean, it's so obviously different. Super easy for the Democrats to adopt. Like, oh, you're making fun of our guy by saying he's a genius? We'll show you. We also think he's a genius. Like, it's okay. Great job, guys. Anyways, where the right thrives on sort of the irony of it. And Coconut Pilled began when the right harped on a clip of Harris recounting how her mother had once said the phrase, "You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?" Harris then awkwardly laughed.
When does she not awkwardly laugh? Every time she laughs, it's awkward, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to get into that whole thing. They talk about how Dark Brandon and the Coconut Pilled thing failed. It just didn't work. The Democrats trying to do it. Mm-hmm. Let me. Actually, this is the last. The Vance memes. The Vance memes might work against the vice president even more. So they're talking about how the memes might actually harm Vance here because Dark Brandon and Coconut Tree inevitably harmed Harris and Biden. I skipped that paragraph. Basically, it says the Democrats tried to take it and switch it, but it didn't work, obviously, because they lost the election. The Vance memes might work against the vice president even more. There is no silver lining to looking like a doofus. Okay. I mean, you're talking to the wrong guy here at The Atlantic. I'll tell you what, there's some silver lining to looking like a doofus. As trivial as they might seem, memes about politicians can be telling. Dark Brandon memes wouldn't have been quite as funny if Biden was actually sharper and quicker than he seemed. Coconut Pilled memes wouldn't have endured if Harris didn't frequently say bizarre and confusing things. Whether or not they consciously realize it, by spreading such memes, liberals were copping to some uncomfortable truths about the politicians they supported. The Vance memes seem to contain an admission as well. All right, so The Atlantic is telling us how the Vance
tell us what
memes,
the conservatives think. Yes,
exactly. That even some conservatives do not see him as essential to the current MAGA movement.
No, what? No. Atlantic.
How does that apply at all? That he's not essential?
I'm
Again,
very disappointed.
I know. there's no way to try to like explain or you know,
it's just
analyze
madness.
this outside of the fact that they just have zero idea what is going on in the minds of the right. And the right isn't even the right word for it. It's just not the establishment. And that is where they're getting this wrong. This is not MAGA people making Vance memes because they don't want Vance to be in MAGA. Like, what are you talking about? The right or the anti-establishment knows, even if they don't know it intellectually and can explain it to you, they feel it in their bones that making a bajillion of these Vance memes can only help him and probably, you know, get him the presidency in 2028, if that's a thing. It is really annoying me. I'm mostly seeing it on the left, the like left liberal influencers. They're trying to get people to care about 2028 like way too early. There's all this talk about like, you know, okay, who's next? Who's next? I'm like, guys, you're just trying to distract everybody from the current thing going on. All right, one last thing to mention here, and don't worry, it's got some great Vance memes. This is Forbes. And Forbes, they did the right thing. They kept it short. There's almost no analysis. And with that, they did a wonderful job of not embarrassing themselves.
I like this. This is under Forbes, under lifestyle and arts. This is arts.
It's lifestyle and arts. How JD Vance edit memes broke the internet. Then you've got the edit of chubby JD Vance. This is for the culturally who need a cultural sort of pinpoint for this. This was the photo of Kim Kardashian that allegedly, quote unquote, broke the internet with JD Vance's face. All right. I'm going to give you this. Edited images of Vice President J.D. Vance's face have become so popular on X, Twitter, that users are collecting the warped edits like trading cards, inserting Vance into every image they can think of. Distorted, surreal, and downright hideous images of Vance have spread outside of X, entering the timelines of TikTok and Instagram. The sea of Vance edits edited into video compilations. It's happening, guns. It's
the
spreading.
Edits are being re-edited.
It's the virus has made it. It has broken loose of containment. Yes, and these videos are great. Then they give the history of the memes, which we have already gone over twice now. You've got some great edits of him as a baby. You've got this one where he has the curly hair and the beard, which I think is a lot of people's favorite. And it's done in like a 70s, almost like children's book art style. Somebody did him as the Shroud of Turin, which I thought was pretty clever.
That is very good. Yeah, good job on that.
I mean,
you know, that's the thing with the face meme is that you can literally anything that has a face, you can.
Well, and this shows incredible intelligence by the right. And this was a tweet from Prison Mitch. Scientists at Stanford University have released news images of what Jesus may have looked like based on electron microscope scans of the Shroud of Turin. And they've got the x-rays of the Shroud of Turin and stuff, and it's J.D. Vance in the curly-headed, funny 70s form. Like, that requires intellect and wit.
A little bit of wit, right.
History,
wit,
intelligence. Yeah. Like, the Shroud of Turin, it's a great joke. All right. Interestingly, this meme has been somewhat bipartisan. Okay, Forbes. Starting as a harsh mockery of Vance, but quickly embraced by Vance's supporters as an endearing way to pay tribute to their vice president. There's hope for Forbes yet. The original intent of the meme seems to have been forgotten, as political commentators from across the spectrum generate hundreds of Vance variants, like a take on Everything Everywhere All at Once, or Rick and Morty, where everyone in the multiverse is J.D. Vance. One user even posted a simple circle. Now, if you go back to the article, Guns, go to the image where it's the blue, it's pure blue with a flesh-colored circle in the middle of it. This is another wonderful example of the intellect and the genius of the people making these things. One user even posted a simple circle, the concept of a Vance edit stripped down to its underlying essence. So this is a minimalist, almost, like modern art version of the
Contemporary
thing.
art, yeah.
Where you look, when you have seen so
Object.
many of these things, which everybody has. The talk about the 5th generation warfare, social engineering, like boiling down of the essential message as a form of mind control or popular social engineering, whatever. This is a blue background with a pink flesh-colored circle in the middle of it, and I'm telling you, the second you see this thing, you're like, oh, this is the Vance meme.
Why is it not on a red background?
It is that. So what do you mean?
I don't know. He's blue
So
as
most of them,
Democrat.
if you go up to the grid, you'll see the grid. Most of them are on this blue background. You have the grid right up top.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
you see
I
that?
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of it's based on, and So, anyways, it shows a very interesting and deep and psychologically intricate way that this meme storm has trained the AI of the hive mind, where you can see this circle and you go, oh, that's the Vance meme. Some wondered if J.D. Vance had encountered the increasingly ubiquitous images, and others reckoned that the internet was going to give the vice president body dysmorphia. That's Slate. Oh, he's devastated. He's going to be devastated when he sees this. Others joked that they had forgotten that J.D. Vance really looked like, his face lost in the tsunami of edits that had flooded the timeline. Yeah, what does he even look like? You don't even know anymore. Eventually, U.S. Marine Julio Rosas confirmed that Vance had seen the memes and found them funny, which inspired one particularly surreal edit. Finally, Vance himself officially acknowledged the meme by posting a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood edit, and some responded with less flattering images. So he posted on his own account the one where, what's this guy's name?
Leonardo DiCaprio is pointing at the TV with
That's
a
right.
cigarette and a drink in his hand.
Which is a highly recognizable meme.
Very popular meme.
Specifically for like truthers, conspiracy theorists,
Right,
anti-establishment.
Mhm.
It's usually used to like point out a flaw in the narrative or, something.
Or
a
yeah,
clue.
just anything. The thing that happens that people like us were talking about. Like this could be the front cover of our podcast right here.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look,
Yeah,
it's
right.
happening. Yeah.
So Vance posting himself in the form of this meme is incredibly powerful. It ends with Vance joining in the fun. Some declared the meme dead. However, new Vance edits are still flooding the timeline, and they're likely to reach a point of dizzying abstraction before the trend finally fades away. I don't know how they could get any more abstract. But so there you go. You've got the full on, I think at this point, there's a psychological and or spiritual sabotage going on of the Democrats' strategy, especially digitally, where they cannot do a single thing that works for them. Every single thing they do results in blowback, totally, absolutely either embarrassing themselves or in this case, empowering Vance in a way that he could not pay $1 billion to empower himself in this fashion. Between training every single human on the internet to spot his face in a burnt piece of toast, like anything. People are going to be seeing his face in everything. As well as Vance being savvy enough to post it himself, which will have two effects. One of them is, like Forbes says, that probably will just kill it. That'll probably, it's no fun if the person joins in, which is, some classic good old 90s kid anti-bullying strategy. Join in, make fun of yourself before the bullies do, and they got nothing to say. But also presenting Vance as one of these sort of Trumpian masters of propaganda, basically. You can call it propaganda, you can call it 5th generation warfare, you can call it PR, whatever you want to call it. And so this is just yet another. I am convinced that the Democrat establishment says, hey, we need to figure out a way to do good on the internet like the right. So they hired a secret Republican, and this Republican is like, "Oh, I'll show you how to do it," and then just day by day sabotaging them in the most irreversible ways. This Vance thing is now like history forever, and the fact that there's millions of these memes, wherever you are on the internet, it does not matter. There will be the form of Vance's face within arm reach of you. Anywhere you go, it'll be inescapable.
Yeah, think about J.D. Vance's rise to fame in the public eye the last year. I mean, if you're really deep into politics, you may have known who he was before the whole conversation about vice president running mate for Trump last year. But since that point, it's gone from who's J.D. Vance to he's the most recognizable face on the internet.
Yep. Yeah.
And
you could recognize his face in a dark room.
Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable, I would say, that it's happened so quickly. But you can see the power of the internet too. And this also, to your point about the right, I guess culturally is in more of the pocket of what most people are feeling, most people are seeing, and for the conservatives and right wing to sort of absorb any kind of attempt by the left. It is, like you said, either like internal sabotage, some kind of saboteur misleading the Democrats or the left or whatever to try to participate in this game, but, just walking right into the trap. Or maybe there is a genuine sacrifice. That's what it seems like to me, more than like an internal guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a purposeful sacrifice of the left. They need the left to really rock bottom. They got there was too much attention, too much I don't know. There was too much success in too short of a time.
Too much
culturally,
tyranny, you mean?
Yeah. That's more, yeah.
Guns, since we've gone this direction, would you be totally against doing the Newsome stuff real quick? Because I think it fits in pretty well here.
No, I'm not against it. I
Speaking
feel very trampled on today. Very.
I'm sorry.
Very.
I don't want to
like
do
I
that.
don't contribute. To
I
the show
don't want to
anymore.
do that.
But it's okay. We could do some Newsome. That's fine.
Well, you've got a lot
anyway.
of you've
it's
basically got the rest of the show as yours.
Yeah,
after
it's
this.
okay. Let's do some Newsome because it makes sense in this context.
It makes sense.
It's Newsome science, baby! Ha! Doubling down on stupid.
So one of the things that is a little bit we're waiting to see how this works out is Newsome's podcast. Gavin with Gavin. It's it's the thing. It's a little bit worrying, honestly, for me in what we know, because it has been the strength of the right and the weakness of the left that at least left politicians cannot do long form. They cannot, and they will not, and they do not. They're so highly controlled and scripted that they cannot survive more than, a 7-minute conversation on MSNBC or whatever.
Right.
And this is quite obviously Newsome's attempt to prove, I think, to the left that he can do it, and therefore he can hang in the 2028 presidential election, which every presidential election from here on out will require the candidates to go on podcasts, right?
Yep.
That
is true.
It has to. No president will ever win again unless they can go on podcasts. And so this is Gavin, I think, doing two things. One, training for that, and B, recognizing that the sort of insulation of the Democratic Party, he's basically the only Democrat politician that I think I can recognize that is really coming to terms with the truth of what is holding back the Democrats sort of politically. And you'll see this in this episode. So what is this? I forgot what his podcast is actually called. Doesn't matter.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Gavin.
Gavin. This is Charlie Kirk. He was the first guest. He was the inaugural guest on this podcast, which goes to show that, because he pitched it as like, gonna talk to people I disagree with. Turns out maybe that's all of his friends in the Democrats.
This actually worries me a little bit. The fact that he had Charlie Kirk on first, the fact that the clips that come out, I'll tell you what, it's still sort of vindicating when you watch it, but it's also worries me a little bit because Gavin, he knows what he's doing here. He knows that he has the ability to scoop up some of the, straddling the fence, the fence folk who have been pushed out of the Democrats because they're just ludicrous or silly or too establishment and everything. And can't just have conversations.
It is troubling. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
And look, I'm not even a Republican. Like, I don't really care. It worries me because I want Newsom to fail. Is why it worries me.
I have concern for the rest of the country and the world.
Yes.
Because with Kamala Harris, she's an actress. Okay, I don't know what she really thinks about anything. All she does, she comes out, she says things, and whatever. Gavin Newsom, he is genuinely a slimeball. Like like he could do long form because he's slimeball to the bones.
And you can feel it. You can feel it. I'll say this: I never thought he'd be able to do long term because he also seems to be scripted.
I knew.
Well,
especially because the French Laundry thing. You don't sit there and host a dinner party with your favorite friends while everybody's locked down wearing masks and jabbing each other without being able to entertain a group.
Oh, that's a good point.
I get the feeling that he knows how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So here's just a couple clips. I mean, there's endless clips, and what worries me is it feels like, even though I think Charlie Kirk has the better presentation, Gavin has brought himself to a place where he can actually be kind of reasonable at times. Not right. I know.
Don't be reasonable.
Let me be
Stay
clear.
Crazy.
I know, exactly.
I know.
I want to be clear. I don't think he's not right about things, but he presents as reasonable in some of these clips. So
in the context of fifth generation warfare, he's starting to craft his own. He's getting his hands on the reins of his own narrative, which is the scary part, I think.
And that's what I don't like. And I think in this clip here, Charlie Kirk actually gives him
advice. What are you doing, Charlie Kirk?
Gives him some of the secret sauce that's going to help the Democrats in 2028. Let's watch the clip.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect. Bobby Kennedy.
Hold on, let me try it again. A little more volume.
Thank
here we
you.
go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's try that again.
Any Democrats you admire out there right now?
Democrats I respect. Bobby Kennedy I respect. Tulsi Gabbard.
Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Because they're on our team now. Because you guys kicked out your best people. It's like the people that were into. This is a great point, though, Governor. Is that Bobby Kennedy was a heterodox opinion on a thing that a lot of people were concerned about. Get him out. He's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard, who was anti-war. Get her out. She's a Russian agent. Yeah. You guys see how you have an unhealthy purification process where eventually you're left with just a 31% approval rating and a bunch of people that are talking to each other. And meanwhile, we're the ones that have Democrats in our cabinet winning the electoral majority vote, because there needs to be said, if Democrats are serious about being a majority party ever again, look at that ideological diversity. We have people that, they want to go to war with every country that says something bad against us. And then we have people that are far more dovish, like Rand Paul. But that is a better, more, dare I say, diverse picture. You could say diversity is our strength.
Oh, look at you.
Look at you. Look at you, Charlie Kirk.
One thing that struck me a little bit was there were times where it kind of seemed like Gavin and Charlie Kirk were like flirting with each other. Like they're like Gavin is in his like skeezy politician charm. Where it almost feels like he's flirting with Charlie Kirk occasionally.
Well, Basil, neither of these men get to where they are without flirting with some men. I mean, let's be honest.
I mean, that's how you do it. That's what you got to do.
This is why you and I would never, make it anywhere.
We're not good. I don't know what men
not good
want
at flirting
from me.
with men.
I'm not very good. All right. Next up, this is I just picked a couple clips that are sort of particularly relevant with the things that the Democrats need to learn if they're going to see any success ever again. So this was Newsom for a second kind of going into like, well, you want to burn books. And then you'll see where this goes.
How about the book ban stuff? On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023. Is that not as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
Fair point.
Okay,
Fair.
so that's a book ban.
All right. Well, there were some other books.
Oh, no.
Bill O'Reilly's
that
book
was the
banned.
Moms for Liberty contention. Time out.
Yeah.
Like, I agree on Bill O'Reilly. The Moms for Liberty movement that you made a big thing of was just no porn to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We agree. So those books should be banned.
Well, okay.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that include the
book ban.
Bible?
Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point, or is it offensive?
I don't think that's fair
and as
at
a man
all.
of faith, and I deeply admire that about you.
Thank you.
Sincerely.
Yes, but no, I mean, again, the Song of Solomon is rather risque.
No, it's
but what we're
very,
talking about
but-
in these books is not just the words, it's also the images. And again, your audience can look at the images themselves.
Okay.
It's highly graphic. But again,
But it seems a banning binge. I mean, at next level, sort of cancel culture.
But why do you think moms are doing that? Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you
No,
think
I
that they
think-
have come across
I think
incident of highly provocative
I
material?
love moms, but this moms, I mean, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It
I mean, you
seems
brought up the book bans,
deeply,
though. I mean,
deeply organized for a larger agenda, but that's my humble opinion.
no, but let me just, kind of complete the point, is that it's easy to just call it kind of a book ban, but when you actually have to read some of these books, it will take your breath away of some of this stuff, right? You're like, okay, we're teaching a 10-year-old how to put a condom on.
I know, I just have a problem with, who the hell is going to decide that? Government? I mean, Ron DeSantis is going to decide what I can read or say in the boardroom, in the classroom?
This is the exercise of politics, though.
Yeah.
The exercise of politics is the highest form of community because it blends morality and sociability. So what we do is we have discussion and elections, and we have boards and commissions, right? And we as a people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's politics. So one thing I noticed about Newsom in this clip is you can see the sort of reductive conspiracy thinking of the left coming out.
Yeah.
Like, what about book burnings? He didn't say it, but he almost was just like, that's like what Hitler did, book burnings, book bans. And Charlie Kirk did a great job of just being like, hey, it's just common sense. This is all just common sense stuff. Well, Moms for Liberty, they have a bigger agenda that they want to. No. We're just talking about this book thing. This is what it is. And the book ban thing drove me absolutely bonkers because nobody on the left knows what these books were. They'll call Trump Hitler. They'll call them Nazis. They'll say book bans. Oh my gosh. And none of them that I have talked to, at least in person, have known really what any of these books are. And the second you actually show them which these books are, and I don't want to spiral off, but I do just want to mention, one of the books that got taken out was a book that was in middle school and I believe some elementary school sections of the library as well, called This Book is Gay. And I had heard things about the various books, and, it's really hard to find exact passages. It's hard to find actual images, like trying to talk to some liberals. It's hard to just Google the bits that are bad about these books. So I actually found a copy of This Book is Gay, and everything that I was told that is in that book, that is in school libraries, is true. I mean, there's sections, first of all, there's images and diagrams that are not clinical. And there's also advice about going on Grindr and how to find, and they even talk about like finding older men and just crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's insanity.
It is worse than I even thought, because I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to be reasonable and like, okay, well, what is it? And you actually look at the pages of this book, you're like, there's no way to defend this. So anyways, you got Newsom kind of, what I liked about this clip was Newsom was reverting to talking points. And Charlie Kirk is just like, hey, you don't have to do that. And again, I don't want Newsom to catch on. I want him to stay in talking point.
He's getting a lot of advice from Charlie Kirk over here. Yeah.
And this last clip is one that actually the left had started to respond to. This was on transgender sports.
It's like, you right now should come out and be like, you know what? the young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate, but
like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that
I wonder if this is directly from the podcast, because that was edited right there. He must have stopped or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you notice
Maybe.
that? Anyway.
Grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
So like, you right now should come out and be like, you know what?
Oh, it started over. There you go. It looped.
Yeah. So of course there's a lot on the left. The hope would be that the Democrats are so trained and triggered that to have Gavin Newsom say that it's unfair for transgender kids to play in women's sports or whatever, that would, he would fail the purity test, I suppose. Now, unfortunately, they talk about the purity test as well in this. Charlie Kirk does a great job of explaining how Democrats have an unfair purity test, and that's why everybody's leaving them. So, we'll see how much that I was expecting a much more inflammatory response. The problem is that Gavin Newsom and the entire left knows, those who are actually concerned with getting elected, they know that it's an 80-20 issue. And so
they have to flip on this issue.
They have to. They'll never win again if they don't flip on this issue.
They're not going to win with it.
And that's a bit what we're seeing.
So the Vanity Fair had a headline here. California Governor Gavin Newsom says transgender athletes playing in women's sports is, quote, deeply unfair. The governor, a likely contender for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2028, made the comments during their podcast with Charlie Kirk. And it says there's a quote here from Newsom. Quote, "I've got to admire what you've been able to do," speaking to Charlie Kirk, "not to weaponize, but to organize on these college campuses a different point of view." And he's talking about Charlie Kirk going to college campuses and doing his thing. I think Ben Shapiro used to do that. Until it got really rowdy for Shapiro. I don't think he does that anymore, where he's going to college campuses. And then later down here, then the governor asks Kirk for advice on how to better appeal to Americans. Quote, "Get better ideas," he responds. Quote, "You have an opportunity to run to the middle. You right now should come out and be like, what young man who's about to win the state championship in long jump and in female sports, yada, yada, that whole clip. Run to the middle. Run to the middle. Do you think that's what Gavin Newsom is going to do?
I think that's what he's doing. I think that's the purpose of the entire podcast, is to get the media, the content out there that he's actually not that crazy, not a crazy guy. I think we can find a balance here. I can hold both things in my hands. The rest of this Vanity Fair article is about 50 paragraphs sort of defending Gavin Newsom's previous actions and legislation on LGBT stuff with young people, and never quite condemns him. He says, look, the Vanity Fair is basically like, look at all these things that he's done. So just because he said it's unfair for trans kids to play in women's sports, well, he'll be okay. It's, again, very geared towards this center.
Right, trying to control. They got to try to win back some people. They've lost too many people. I did do a short dive into some of the funding going on, because this podcast with Gavin Newsom is sponsored by iHeart Radio, which is a subsidiary of iHeart Media. So I didn't do too much, just kind of digging around a little bit. So I wrote this on a post. The Gavin Newsom podcast is produced and distributed by iHeart Radio, a division of iHeart Media. Some of the biggest shareholders of iHeart Media, no surprise, BlackRock holds 6%, Vanguard another 6%, but the biggest is Global Media and Entertainment Investments Ltd., who owns 25%. And they were founded, or they're founded and run by somebody named Ashley Tabor King, who's the son of Michael Tabor, who is a British billionaire businessman known for his investments in horse racing, real estate, and finance. And he's not overly political, I guess, but he had contributed to the Conservative Party in the UK in the past. So it's, just follow the money a little bit, follow who the big players are when it comes to the media infrastructure behind
globalist
it.
establishment.
Yeah, globalist establishment thing. So it's kind of like, all right, Gavin, we're going to throw you a bone here. We're going to give you an opportunity to stick around and, maybe morph into something more desirable for the Democrat vote.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just one of those things where, of course, you look into a little under the hood and you see, quote unquote, globalist money, literally Global Media and Entertainment Investment Ltd, run by the son of a billionaire businessman who gave to the Conservative Party. So there you go.
So I think this signals a new era of the
new Newsome
media control. We
yeah.
are talking about billions of dollars now. The left knows. We don't even have to do left and right. The establishment knows that they have to take back this media, this medium, podcasting and other online digital media, and they're pouring billions of dollars into it. And the fact that the Democrats don't have any sort of relatable, accessible, I don't know, what are they called? Influencers or just personalities? They don't have a Joe Rogan or whatever. And
they don't have anything, really.
They have nothing.
Starting from scratch.
All they have are establishment actors, establishment operators. And so this Gavin podcast, I think, obviously they're putting a ton of money into it. They're putting a ton of weight behind it. I think this sort of officially signals the age of globalist establishment, doing their best to take over the space. And the Gavin podcast, I mean, if it is just an incredible setup to try to get him in 2028, because if he does a consistent podcast from now until 2028, he's not just a politician. Now he is a podcaster.
He's a cultural.
There's a difference between
icon.
The podcast president, Trump, the president who goes on podcasts, and the podcaster president, which would be like a, Joe Rogan running for president or something. I don't know. This is very interesting. All right, Guns, the show is yours in just a moment. I do want to give a shout out to everybody who joined the Canary Cry text message alert system, no matter where you are. If you're watching right now, if you're new, make sure to hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications. But when you inevitably get unsubscribed without knowing it, or you stop getting notifications or whatever, because no matter what we think is going on in the online censorship space, we apparently just happen to be right there in the thick of it still. So getting on the Canary Cry text message alert system is a great way to never miss a show or get any updates if we get kicked off or something like that. All you got to do is text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. And to be honest, there's a lot of people joining this list, and it's my feeling that they're all joining this list so they can just send us text messages. And that's fine. That's a good reason to join. Again, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. And you can send us messages whenever you want. And sometimes we read them on the show here, like 530 just sent, a newspaper clipping. It says, found this paper from 1994. Immediately thought of you. EFT is the mark of the beast. Who knew? Okay, let's see. God spoke to me once again. He said the book of Revelation is a science book. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so they sent a newspaper from 1994. I'm going to check that out. 661 says, happy Monday, still watching, chatting on Twitch. Oh, our lone Twitch person. Good job, Twitch person.
Chatting to themselves. Thank you for being there, by the way.
God bless you. 507 says, my chickens are thinking outside the cage with this beautiful weather we're having today. Thank you very much, 507. I wonder if this is the guy who's breeding apocalypse chickens. 612 says, have a great show. The real Tim P. Thank you, Tim Pool. Appreciate appreciate that for coming in and enjoying the show. 717 says, my dad had a stroke last night. I'm at the hospital saying a prayer for the show now. Please pray for my dad. This is Dame Pocojo, and let's call this producers.
Let's do it.
Producers, assemble!
That's right. Not only can you produce the show, you can produce the show. It's very easy. Just keep the show in your prayers. Keep Gonz and I in your prayers. Pray for the producers of the show. And of course, these prayer requests come in. Dame Pocojo's dad just had a stroke last night. So we are going to be praying for strength and healing and comfort for everybody involved. That is so, such a big event that takes over everything. And, goodness gracious. Well, your whole Canarian family is standing behind you and praying for you, Pocojo, of course, and for your father.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a couple more here.
Okay.
954 says an asteroid of information about the size of 33 emus is expected to hit the internet shortly. Canarians, please take effective measures. Okay. Did you know we have an asteroid of information? Is that us? We're the asteroid of information.
Maybe
That's
we're the
what
asteroid.
it is.
We're the
I
33
get it
emus.
now.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. And let's see here. One last one. Let's do this. 360. Oh, this is Kat. Says praying blessings for you both. So there you go, folks. You can join the thing, get the text messages, text us back. It's a blast. Our fastest growing list of people trying to stay connected. And it is required to text Canary to 877-740-3226.
What do you think? How soon before AOC has a podcast?
I'm so surprised that she didn't already.
I think it's coming, right? It's got to be coming at some point.
I think the only reason she doesn't is because Nancy won't let her. I think she is not allowed.
She should call it Girl, Baby Girl.
I think she will. I think now Gavin's little experiment might kind of open that up, you know?
Yeah. She's going to have to talk for like an hour straight, though.
Girl, baby, girl. Yeah. See, that's the thing. We don't even know if she's capable of that.
Earpiece.
Yeah, the earpiece will do it.
Okay. Are we moving on? Or what are we doing?
It's all you. Whatever you think we should do.
Okay. Do you have to get out of here? Because I know you got a thing you got to go
I
to.
can stretch it a little bit, but let's plow through it. Let's get these stories.
Okay. All right. So let's start with a little Elon Musk action here.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
So there was a lot of things that happened over the weekend, but let me start with actually what's been taking place today, like this morning. And that is an article that I don't have ready, but it is titled Dark Storm Team Claims DDoS Attack on X Causing Major Outages. Live updates. So this morning, everybody woke up. They're hopping on X. They're trying to post their good morning posts. And apparently, stuff not working. Not really happening. X, formerly Twitter, is experiencing its third major outage of the day, with users reporting widespread login and loading issues. The hacking group Dark Storm Team has reportedly claimed responsibility for a DDoS attack on the platform, according to a public Telegram post. Newsweek has reached out to X via email for comment on the matter. And they list some facts here. 40,000 reports flooded Down Detector during the second outage, and so on and so on. Now, this attack on X, this DDoS attack, is coming after a long weekend of protests against Tesla. There's obviously a coordinated campaign, an anti-Elon campaign, which is, Basil, you and I have been. Look, you started as a big fan of Elon. I remember, like, before it was cool to like Elon. You were like, he's like my best friend that I never had. Like you're like, he's my perfect imaginary friend. You were loving on Elon, and I was kind of like, this is the guy that's got space rockets, government contracts, brain chip project, underground tunnels project, communication network project with satellites and stars. So the whole thing. But you know, when he started to do the whole buy X, defend free speech, a lot of people supported Elon. And, you know, he garnered a lot of attention and support. And so, and throughout that whole process, you know, look, when he's doing something that's a little more agreeable socially, yeah, you got to acknowledge, like, all right, yeah, let's see what we can do with this platform X. Can we defend free speech or whatever? But, you know, in the back of my mind, the back of a lot of people's minds, it's like, okay, this is still the guy who's got all this other stuff going on. Who knows who's really behind him? And you know, he's the technocrat of choice. So, you know, keeping that in mind. So when the unhinged left start protesting in the streets, you know, literal boots on the ground, getting stuff done, it's a little concerning because it reminds me of the left tactic of creating havoc, you know, whether it be Black Lives Matter or whatever situation, the social situation it is, they can cause havoc. And there's all this footage coming out from the Tesla factories. And here's one of them. They interview this lady who's being handcuffed, or it looks like she's just getting some tape on her hands or something. But
My name's Frankie, and I'm getting arrested today protesting Elon Musk. Bought his way into office. He bought his way into heading a government agency. He bought his power at the expense of the American people, at the expense of...
Isn't he funded by the government? A lot of his stuff aren't I don't know.
Yes,
to say he bought his way in, it's kind of like,
well, she's referring to the $250 million the $250 million election donations that he made to Trump.
Sure.
Expense of the American people, at the expense of our environment, at the expense of our world, and all of the people in it.
So there you go. And you got all these people holding up signs, and they're going nuts on anti-Elon. There was a Cybertruck that went up into flames.
Oh my gosh, a Tesla Cybertruck is on fire. All right.
All right, it's just some Cybertrucks on fire.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of them there.
There's a whole bunch of them on fire.
You might have it, but there's been a couple of Tesla dealerships that have been shot up.
Yes. Oh, we didn't even read that story about the crazy guy at the White House over the weekend that tried to. Didn't he get shot?
I don't even know.
He was armed. Let me just.
I don't know the story.
You do not know the story. Let me double check on that because, there's a lot of chaos starting to happen here. So I'll take BBC because, you know, it's fun, BBC. Secret Service shoots armed man outside White House. The U.S. Secret Service shot a man outside the White House early on Sunday after an armed confrontation. They had an early tip from somebody to the local police, quote, suicidal individual who may be traveling to Washington, D.C. from Indiana. He brandished a firearm, adding that shots were fired. The man is now hospitalized in an unknown condition. So a little bit of, I guess, physical chaos starting to erupt a little bit from all this Doge stuff going on, and
the
I think
Soros bricks are being delivered.
The Soros bricks,
the Soros bricks are being.
They're
delivered.
mad. They're mad because Black Lives Matter is being taken down. The whole street.
The plaza, BLM
the plaza. Yes, the BLM Plaza is being deconstructed right now. Or demolished, or whatever you want to call it. So there's a symbolic. And by the way, that whole thing with the obelisk in the background, Basil. I mean, it's just the symbolism. Powerful. And back to the Cybertruck here being on fire. This whole thing on X today, this DDoS attack, the timing of it is very interesting to me because you have all this stuff, the uprising and the people getting mad and all that. You got the burning of the Cybertrucks, but you also have Trump announcing the strategic Bitcoin reserve over the last week, at the end of last week. I'll get to that in a second. But let me go back to this Newsweek article. So this DDoS attack seems to me like a way to up the game, the cyber warfare game becoming, I don't know, like it's evolving into this next stage especially because of Dark Storm. So I looked up Dark Storm, Basil. Did you know anything about them before this event took place?
I don't recall if I've heard of them before.
Okay, so Dark Storm, they're basically a hacker group, but they were responsible for, in the past, the LAX hacks that happened. I don't remember when that was. Was that last year? I think it was last year. And it was based on the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel situation, the October 7th Israel situation. So this Dark Storm team is very political in that sense. And it feels to me like this is a way to construct the divide and conquer tactics, almost like forcing the two sides and creating the tension, especially when it comes to the Middle East, because you have a lot of people who supported Trump and Elon in winning the election that were very anti-Israel, especially like the truther types. They're anti-Israel in that they are more specifically anti-Mossad, right? Let's be a little more specific. So it's not like Israel is bad. It's more like Mossad is bad kind of sentiment. And of course, you think about Mossad and their connections to the Epstein situation through Ghislaine Maxwell, and there's a whole history there. And that's why some people in the truth community are very anti-Israel. Now, that doesn't make them pro-Palestine, but this type of situation, when you have Dark Storm coming in and attacking X, and obviously you have Elon that's supporting Trump, they're all supporting Israel, or, I mean, you can say Mossad. I don't know if you can fully say Mossad. Some people go there, but you can at least say that publicly facing they are in support of Israel. And so you have this divide situation where if you're against Elon and Trump, you are against Israel. And this type of hacking event, all the liberal stuff that's happening with the left starting actual riots, the Soros-style riots and burning stuff and throwing bricks and the whole thing, along with an actual cyber attack on X after Elon, for months and months and months, has been telling everybody, you are the media now. You're on X. You don't need to go to mainstream media. You're on X. You get your news here. You get your truth here. You get everything here. This is the platform. And for it to go down, I think this is the next level cyber pandemic situation. Obviously not entirely, devastating in terms of the entire cyberverse, but if in the context of Elon telling everybody that they're the media, and all of a sudden you can't log in to the place where you're supposed to get all your media, that to me is a microcosmic cyber pandemic. And it forces people that are pro X or users of X, perhaps even making money on X, to be like, hey, what's up with this Dark Storm team? Let's get rid of him, figure out who this is, and get rid of him. Oh, they happen to be pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. Interesting. That seems to be the big political issue that, at least what we're told, is the driving point of this group. And so, in the context of the beast versus harlot, we talk about that all the time, Revelation 17, where the beast or the harlot rides the beast, makes all the merchants of the earth wealthy, but then in the end, the beast devours the harlot. And that's also it's all part of God's sort of plan. But we used to think that the beast may be this whole liberal order thing. Now it's looking more like the techno-populist, conservative, right-wing, whatever you want to call it, Trumpian, Elon Muskian, technocratic uprising. That might be the beast, whereas the left becomes more of the harlot. You think about Israel and its sort of liberal policies in many regards. So it's all very confusing, but to me, it's an upping the game of the cyber pandemic, and I think there's a reason why that's happening. Any thoughts before I move on, Basil?
Yeah, well, I think the timing is interesting because of the executive order that makes it possible to deport college students who protest on college campuses on behalf
of they gotta find a new place.
Well, these things are kind of happening at the same time. I will say on our document, Gons, just a link or two below where you are. I just saw a clip was posted. Elon talking with someone. The post on the video says Elon says that the IP address from the possible cyber attack on X originated in or near Ukraine.
Okay.
Another thing, everyone's attacking you for your position. What are you doing in the government? There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Oh, well, so that's your suspicion. Is the website, is the internet up? Is it up yet?
It's up, yeah.
It's up yet. Okay, good. But I just was looking back. Let me see if I get this right.
Okay, so he's...
Now, we know, and we point this out with all of these things, especially when it's coming from the government. We got to remember now that, Elon isn't the government, but might as well be adjacent to it. Just because an IP address comes from an area means absolutely
nothing.
Zero.
Nothing. It
Zero,
means nothing.
Zilch, nothing. So Elon here, of course he knows this, and it may be true that the IP addresses, and that might be why he stated it this way, because on other hacks, you get Mitch McConnell up there or some other establishment
from Russia. It's all Russia.
It was Russians. It's Russians. We know it's Russians because the IP address. Elon at least is saying the IP addresses are Ukrainian. That's all we know, which is not necessarily dishonest. But you can tell that this Fox interviewer is not used to that. He's like, oh, the IP addresses are Ukrainian, so it must be Ukrainians then, huh? And Elon's just like,
well, yeah, yes, there's that, but also to mention Ukraine in this regard is a very political moment for him as well, because I think Elon would like the U.S. to pull out of NATO. He's expressed as much. I know everyone does, but I think that's sort of his greater plan there with that. So it's possible that he's just using the opportunity to jab at Ukraine as well because of the breaking down of the relationship there. But I do think that the cyber warfare thing is real because the timing of everything, not just these riots, but over the end of last week, the White House had their official crypto summit, and Trump signed the thing, Basil. Oh, not money. What is money?
Is this a crypto? Crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
This is coming from the whitehouse.gov, and the document is titled Establishment of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and United States Digital Asset Stockpile. A lot of people were disappointed because they thought the government's going to be buying more Bitcoin, and I believe that there's some wiggle room or ways to do that. But more so, it was a way to hold Bitcoin in a strategic reserve and not sell it, basically, and hold the Bitcoin that they had confiscated through various things over the years, whether it's taking down a crime syndicate or I think there was a group that took down a pedo network because of Bitcoin, because they were using Bitcoin and leaving all kinds of traces on the internet, and so stuff like that, and that people thinking short term, I want my crypto dollar amounts to go up and all this kind of stuff, they might be disappointed. But what I don't think most people realize is that this is actually a military move. What's the word I'm looking for? Not just military, but a strategic militant move, if you will. So I say that because I go back to Jason P. Lowry's thesis about soft war, which is that in order to secure cyberspace, you need something that has actual physical consequence. Because right now there's no physical consequences for things that happen on the software side, digital side. And what Bitcoin did is create that bridge where you need to burn energy in a certain amount to actually mine Bitcoin and things of that nature. And I won't get to the technical stuff there, but that's kind of the idea. And so the biggest military in the world, allegedly, the United States, getting involved in holding Bitcoin in that way is almost like a big siren going off. It's like a big bat signal going off. Is like, hey, we're going to dominate cyberspace. And I think that is enough of a Batman moment where, or bat signal moment where, you know, now the Joker's out in the streets, you know, he's looking for Batman. And that's why I see this whole cyber attack on X, along with the tanking price of Bitcoin in dollars, as all one big thing, like one huge operation to try to get, because ultimately the people that were there at the crypto summit at the White House, most of the people on the panel are interested in securing the US dollar. They're not interested in, you know, getting rich or whatever. It's not about that. It's more about securing cyberspace in a certain way. I'm sorry, securing the dollar in a certain way. So making sure the dollar has its ability to stay relevant over the next however many decades or years. But there were some people that were there that, for example, Michael Saylor. We've talked about Michael Saylor before. We need to get some Michael Saylor clips. You know who Michael Saylor is, Basil?
No, but I'll be reminded.
Yeah, he's the founder of a company called MicroStrategy, which he started in like the 80s.
Yeah.
He leveraged his software company, I think like, I can't remember, $20 billion or something, to buy Bitcoin and put Bitcoin on his balance sheet. And he was rewarded for a little while, but then he bought a bunch recently again. I think he's underwater when it comes to dollar amounts. But he wants to control a lot of the Bitcoin. We got to get clips of him talking, because he sounds like he's from the future when he talks about Bitcoin. And he doesn't talk about it in terms of like money. He talks about it in terms of like the energy no, it's even more than that. Like if you hear, somebody can find a clip of Michael Saylor, because he'll sit there and go, you know, Bitcoin is a thermodynamic energy source trapped in cyberspace with future plasmonic digital real estate. It's Manhattan of the future. Like, he'll just go off on these tangents that don't make any sense, but then people are like, oh yeah, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is awesome. So he's one of these guys. And for him to be part of the panel as well, man. And then going back to Jason P. Lowry and securing cyberspace, I believe that the whole thing is about to get really crazy, because now every one of us, it's not just a war on Elon or X or whatever, because since we are the media, according to Elon, now this whole fifth generation warfare, tangible cyber attacks can happen to all of us. I also think maybe this is a way to potentially, it's a good excuse anyway, to move the entire X infrastructure side to a more distributed network approach. Because the legacy, this is more under the hood, but the legacy system of centralization is failing. It's failing because it's old. It's also failing because there are too many vulnerabilities. And with Bitcoin being that decentralized cyber network, really, becoming an official asset in the strategic reserve, it's like an oil reserve, you know? It's power, it's authority, but it's also literal energy control of the cyberspace. And it makes sense to me anyway in my head that, you know, a hacker group would attack X right after this is announced. I think Elon was in the room during the crypto summit, and he hasn't actually said anything about Bitcoin. So I think that's also very interesting. So there you go. I mean, I'm trying to keep it really brief here and shaving off a bunch of things that I had before, but
yeah, no, I mean, the Bitcoin reserve thing was big news. And of course, you know, immediately we saw the crypto markets tank, and today we saw the S&P, everything's tanking. Yeah, everything's tanking. I mean, it's interesting because, of course, this is getting put into the context of, oh, Trump's ruining everything. Right. There's a lot of reasons why things are happening the way they are. And, you know, one of them is, of course, there are forces, there are economic forces and like elite forces that we could not even imagine. I mean, take all the ones that we can imagine and then, you know, add on top of that just unimaginable powers, you know,
I mean, we talk
powers.
about the Rothschilds, the Soroses. These are public figures. There are people in this world that are not public.
Yeah.
That control a lot of stuff. And that's not even talking about the principalities and powers.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about
exactly.
like human beings that are, or maybe not, maybe they're hybrids at this point. But yeah, just individuals that we don't know about that pull the strings that we may never know their names. So yeah, the economic
and
warfare,
things like that. Yeah, I mean, the economic warfare is flaring up for sure. And, you know, there's some sort of short versus long-term economic stuff that, you know, kind of starts to make sense when you get into the depths of, you know, bond yields and the Federal Reserve and things like that. But things are certainly gearing up to be, you know, its own sort of reset right now.
Yeah, its own reset.
Bitcoin, which has sort of for a long time colloquially been considered like a hedge against all this
fiat
nonsense. But as we reported on in the times that it was being sort of co-opted by institutional money, you know, this is institutional involvement in crypto, which, yes, includes, you know, strategic government reserves and you know, hedge funds and everybody attached to that and all the little tentacles that come off of that. You know, this is how they control. This is how they've been controlling. This is how they're controlling now. A huge portion of the control is legitimately just for sentiment control. They want people to feel a certain way. They want, I mean, the markets are
markets are perfect for that. They are an emotional control mechanism.
Yeah.
You can get people really, really euphoric and you can really make them depressed. I mean, the amount of emotional control that they have with the markets is unbelievable.
The sort of cybernetic loop that you mentioned early on in the show here is, you know, markets are a little bit that way. They fall because, I mean, really the real function of these markets is that they fall because people are uncertain. Now, those people might be, you know, establishment characters or organizations, but it's a reflection of uncertainty. And as a result of that, people become more uncertain. You become uncertain because the market is reflecting uncertainty, which causes people to feel uncertain. And then it just kind of goes around. That's why, you know, big dips or big bull runs in the market, that's why they last for a little while. That's why they, you know, can take months or even years to change directions because they're sort of this self-reinforcing loop. Yeah. And, you know, you get into the national debt and the sort of spiral that the whole, not just our country, but the entire global financial system is in, requires a reset. We know this, some sort of reset. And there's, of course, plans for a reset that we are aware of. And there are plans for a reset that we are not aware of. And one of the biggest, you know, one of the most powerful sort of rebellions you can participate in these days, if you're a supernaturally, spiritually minded person, is to not let these things control your sentiment. You know, letting God be the dictator of your sentiment and not the other
markets.
God, Mammon. You know?
Mammon, right. Yeah. I posted this back on December 4th of 2023. I said, I've learned that the four most dangerous words in markets is, quote, "This time it's different, but this time really might be different for Bitcoin. If the soft war thesis presented by Jason P. Lowry is taken seriously by the DOD, then it explains why BlackRock did a 180 and decided to file for an ETF." This is back in the day. And I have a picture from, or a screenshot from Lowry's book, Soft War, and I have highlighted here. Lowry concludes that Bitcoin represents a national strategic imperative that the U.S. should support and adopt as quickly as possible, else it risks losing its lead as a global superpower in the 21st century. So I think Jason Lowery's words are being taken way more seriously than people are giving him credit, and I don't think people really know who he is yet. But this is the warfare. Cyber domain being one of the 6 or 7 domains of warfare. They need to secure it, and I think Bitcoin is one way to secure it. Maybe the only way to secure it as we move into the future here, at least in the 21st century. So I find all of this very fascinating. I've been thinking about how the concept of Bitcoin, when people, because it took a while for people to understand how Bitcoin works, and most people still don't know how it works, but understand that it's digital gold. People say that all the time. It's digital gold. It's digital gold. Also, the White House doing this, I think they even mentioned the words like it's a digital Fort Knox. I think they mentioned it in the document. Hold on, let me see if the words Fort Knox. Oh, maybe not in the actual executive order. But David Sachs, who's one of the leading guys here, he talks about how Bitcoin, the holding a strategic reserve for Bitcoin is like a Fort Knox for crypto. And I'm thinking they're making this, Elon made that big deal about, I'm going to walk into Fort Knox with a camera, and nobody believes there's any gold in there. But I find it interesting that they're setting this up now before maybe they figure out what's going on at Fort Knox, which is maybe nothing. And that could be such a detrimental moment for the US dollar and the world economy, that this could be a massively important hedge for everybody's lives that people don't realize. That having a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve is so important to maintain some kind of semblance of a normal society. If we all find out that there's nothing in Fort Knox, there's no gold. So just some different things, different angles, different perspectives on what could be going on here. But I find all of it fascinating. I find all of it to be very suspicious in timing. But there you go. I guess you and I, Basil. One more thing. The stablecoin thing. One of the people at the strategic conference, the crypto conference, was, I believe, the CEO or the founder of Tether. Tether is a stablecoin. And the reason why that is a little troubling is because DeSantis, I think, didn't Trump come out and say no CBDCs as well? I don't know if it's an executive order. Was it an executive order? I forget. He's done so many of them. But he came out and said no central bank digital currencies, right? And so Bitcoin is definitely not that, but a stable coin that is pegged to the US dollar, but also, it still operates on a blockchain or whatever, that is still quasi-centralized. And it's almost like a different brand of a CBDC. It's not a central bank digital currency. It is a private corporation digital currency that is working with the bank. So it's like, okay. And what was the event recently? I think it was, what was it? There was some kind of hack. Bybit. There was one of the big exchanges, top 5 crypto exchanges in the world, Bybit, was hacked a couple weeks ago. And Tether, the CEO of Tether, was able to freeze a wallet that was connected to the hackers and freeze their USDT, their USD Tether. And I think I pointed out at the time, I'm like, how is this different from CBDCs? If they can track everything and they can stop your money from moving.
It's the network state version of a CBDC.
It's the same thing. It's literally just a rebrand.
You don't need a government to own the CBDC in order to...
Yeah, it's just hire a public-private partnership. You partner up with a private organization that issues those coins, those tokens, those dollar tokens. And this, I think it is a way for Trump and for a lot of the people in the White House right now, it is a way to preserve the U.S. dollar and to perhaps strengthen it, perhaps pay off a little debt, whatever it may be, perhaps absorb the inflation, because the way things are going, they're going to start printing more money. I think they're trying to figure out an excuse to lower interest rates as well, and that will allow more money printing.
That's what all this is. That's what this whole thing is. I'm pretty convinced I read a couple of pretty good analysis that makes sense to me. Everything we're seeing right now, markets going down, sentiment going down, even crypto going down, there's a slight push to at least teeter on the edge of recession,
right?
To try to bring interest rates down, to get the Fed to bring it down, because the U.S. has $7 trillion worth of debt coming due this year. It's a particularly large portion of our debt comes due this year, which means either we have to pay off $7 trillion. Like, who the heck are we paying $7 trillion to?
know.
Somebody on this earth,
Lord Trump.
somebody on
Lord
this
somewhere.
earth, there's some force, some organization out there who is expecting to get a $7 trillion check from the United States this year.
Pay up, or my mafia gang will come find you.
Now, obviously,
what is going on?
Obviously, that's not going to happen. So what the U.S. does is refinances
Kicks the can down the road. Yeah,
and so, $7 trillion is the highest coming due we've had in maybe the generation. So, Trump wants to refinance it, of course. And at interest rates, what they are right now, you're basically just guaranteeing a destruction of the country in like 2032 or something, when that debt would come due again. So there's some speculation, and I think an educated speculation, that all of this downward force for the economy is to force the Fed to bring rates down, so that when the country refinances $7 trillion, that it, won't be some devastating, country-ending deal when 2033 comes around or whatever.
Lord Saint Germain, here's your gold check for $7 trillion. Can we now print
$7
more
trillion
trillion
check? Just waiting for it. Yeah. So yeah, goodness gracious, Gonzo, we're having fun. I'm gonna need to scoot momentarily.
Okay.
So you want to do this Ukraine clip real quick, just for fun? I don't. You might be able to. There's no other producers really.
Okay.
So you wouldn't.
There's no producers.
Well, we have the under 777 producers.
Okay.
Which we could save. Probably should save till Wednesday. But other than that, no. We had Cage Rattler Coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, Cage Rattler Coffee. I got the coffee in the mail. I'm holding it right here.
Did you? Oh, good.
Look at that.
Well, that's a good opportunity to tell people about Cage Rattler Coffee. Support the show by going to CageRattlerCoffee.com. There's a producer-led project for custom roasted beans and organic beans from Nicaragua, Peru, Congo. You gotta buy coffee anyways. You're gonna buy coffee. You have to. You have no choice. That's the position that we're in.
Oh,
so why not participate in the parallel economy? Support other Canarians. A portion of every purchase supports the show. It's really, really, really good coffee. I'm telling you, the prices are competitive, especially for what it is. You're not going to find many other places with this high quality, small batch stuff that supports the podcast for this price.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. Go get it. CageRattlerCoffee.com. That's it. You just have to do it. There's no other choice. That's kind of thing. But yeah, no, producership was pretty scant this week. And so thank God for our executive producers, especially that anonymous executive producer who is, really acting out of obedience and faithfulness and taking a step of faith for their situation. If it weren't for the executive producers, and especially that particular one, this would have been a pretty devastating day for the producership of the show. So remember, folks, if you get any value whatsoever, I did the math, and I put it in the newsletter today. I did the math. If every producer just every 30 days just kind of like took stock and participated with their time, their talent, or the treasure, not even just, financially, but even, either volunteering or creating some art or something for the show. If every producer, like regularly every 30 days did that, then a lot of problems would be solved around here. And it's just an invitation, it's kind of the natural billing cycle, the natural awareness cycle for us humans is every month. That's how we track our finances, how we track our budgets month to month. It's how we pay our bills. It's how services and subscriptions are divvied up.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Is that why I'm so bad at
I think
accounting?
maybe that might answer a lot of your problems, Gons.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be doing all that every month.
Oh,
And so, I don't think it's unreasonable to maybe consider the value that we get from the show and the community, and settling up every 30 days. That would be it'd certainly solve a lot of problems over here across the board. So something to consider, folks, for the value for value model.
Yep. You can go to canarycry.support to learn more.
We had this clip from MSNBC, and it's just a good time in case you needed an update on the establishment stance on Ukraine. This is what is this? A Marine? This is an Iraq war vet.
No, Iraq war vet. We'll get into who he is, but this is Ukraine here.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
MSNBC, the nightcap.
The person who's watching, who just heard you say Donald Trump is not standing up for Ukraine. What do you say to the person who says, well, I don't care about Ukraine. I want Donald Trump to stand up for America. What do you say to them?
I don't know where you got that. I mean, I don't have time for it.
Yes, but we hear it. We hear it.
Here's the thing. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a place where you thought the Russians were the good guys? What part of America did you grow up in where they taught you the Russians were the good guys?
Oh, hold on. Before am I stopping it too early? Let me finish the clip, actually.
No, I mean, that's certainly a notable point there.
Yeah, you had brought blah.
Well, World War II, first of all, World War II. The Russians were the good guys, okay? You got to give them credit for World War II. We couldn't have won World War II without the Russians. Now, yes, post-World War II, Cold War era, Russians were the bad guys.
Yep.
But since about the year 2000, when I became sort of conscious that there was a world going on around me, there's video of George W. Bush driving Vladimir Putin around in a Ford F-250 on his ranch in Texas. They were best friends. Russia and the United States since late 90s, early 2000s, all the way through 2016. We started this show in 2016, Gons, this particular show. And I remember vividly, and this was around, of course, the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton, Russian collusion. Russia was our good friend and ally. Politicians were referring to Russia as our good friend and ally up until 2015. And in 2015, 2016, suddenly, out of nowhere, and we know where nowhere is between Hillary Clinton's ears. It was a project of the Hillary Clinton camp to suddenly, out of nowhere, almost overnight, start claiming that Russia is our enemy again. And we on the show watched this happen live. And I wish I could go back and find some of those clips, because it was like, I remember being just exasperated at the idea that suddenly, overnight, for no reason, Russia was suddenly the evil villain again.
Well, it had been building the last few years leading up to it, but 2014 was the Ukraine crisis, right? But leading up to it, Edward Snowden, when he released the NSA stuff, Russia gave him asylum in 2013. Right. So there were like little things starting to happen. But yeah, early 2000s.
Millennials. We grew up with Russia being our friend. The fall of the Berlin
Wall going down.
Berlin Wall in 89. Suddenly, the whole thing changed.
Yep.
Bill Clinton made friends with Russia. George W. Bush made friends with Russia. It wasn't until, surprise, surprise, Barack Hussein Obama did Russia suddenly become an enemy again.
Well,
so I don't know what this guy's talking about.
Yeah. So post 2000, after the year 2000, they consider it the post Cold War reset, And then, you know, the NATO-Russia Council and the arms agreement, all these things were happening in the early 2000s. And then the 2008 Georgia conflict started to sour things. And then Obama came in 2009, started talking about a reset diplomacy with Russia. And that led to 2014, the Ukraine crisis and sanctions. And then by, 2015, 2016, Russia is the enemy of the people type thing. So anyway, all right, this guy, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was at war. He was at the Iraq war. So maybe, I don't know. But let's continue. He's got more to say.
Here's the thing. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a place where you thought the Russians were the good guys? What part of America did you grow up in where they taught you the Russians were the good guys and our allies were the bad guys? That's the flip here that we need to continue to remind people. The Russians are the bad guys. They're raping women. They're killing children. They're bombing cities. The Ukrainians are the noble good guys. In some ways, they're more American than we are over the last couple of years. And we must stand with them in the same way we stood with the allies in World War II and since this country was founded. This is not just about Ukraine. This is about the core and the integrity of American values. And that's what he's also betraying. Not just Ukraine, he's betraying America.
Okay, so first of all, apparently it's only the Russians that rapes, pillages, and kills people. Nobody else does that, especially the United States military-industrial complex or, you know, economic hitmen. They don't do anything like that, or, you know, terrorist organizations that are funded by them all around the world. But regardless, Ukrainians are more American than Americans, Basil, according to this guy. His name is Paul Rykov, by the way. He's an American writer, social entrepreneur, activist, and veteran of the U.S. Army and Iraq War. More on him in a moment. Yeah,
pure desperation.
Yeah. So, I don't know. More America. I mean, it's almost like he's set in there on the 11th hour with Stephanie, what's her name here, to stir the pot, you know, making Americans angry. This is mainstream media. They don't get a lot of attention. So you got to say stuff like this if you want any clicks from the
that's a good point.
from the people that would actually care about what he said. But also just doing a 2-second digging on this guy, Rykov was inducted into the Global Ashoka Fellowship in 2010 for his recognition of his innovation and entrepreneurship on behalf of new veterans. He's a member of the American think tank Council on Foreign Relations.
There it is. Could have guessed, actually. Probably could have guessed.
Yeah. So he's a true warmonger.
Definitely could have gotten there, but that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
And by the way, 2009, he was named number 37 on GQ's 50 most powerful people in DC. So he's in the ranks. He's in the ranks.
Jeez Louise. All right. Cool guy. Cool guy. We should all listen to this guy.
In 2012, you know, Rolling Stone magazine, they called Rykov, they put him on the list of, quote, the quiet ones, 12 leaders who get things done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's a full-on operator.
Full-on op of the establishment, yes.
That's crazy. Okay, I'm going to have to scoot, but I did find, I'm wondering, Gons, I don't know, I'm just going to have to say it. I think maybe somebody at the Babylon Bee watches the show.
Why?
Because almost to the second, no, that's I'm exaggerating. I'm trying to figure it out. It's saying 2 hours ago. It was posted 2 hours ago, which is right about when I made the offhand comment. Babylon Bee, I put the link in the thing beneath the Ukraine link there, if you want to open it up. Underneath the Ukraine MSNBC clip is not updating. It's not there.
You know what? No. I'm looking.
Just says Babylon Bee.
Okay,
right
yeah, I see it.
Okay. So I think the timing works out pretty good to the moment that I said it on the show. And to my knowledge, I did not see this, but they do have just put up an article, and the headline to this article is Miracle. Face of J.D. Vance appears in local man's toast. So I think that's...
Did you say that? Did you actually say...
I said it. I just said it during the rant. I mean, look, the Babylon Bee and I have always been of one mind.
You've been spiritual partners in this whole process.
In fact, early on, I think it was around 2016, we were actually sending emails back and forth with the Babylon Bee. We were trying to do something with them. That was back when they obviously were not recognized by the President of the United States. It was a different time. But we've
Yeah.
always been of one mind. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting that this article posted right about the exact time that we were ranting about J.D. Vance's head showing up on a piece of toast.
I wonder
All right.
if he's. This is called pareidolia, by the way, when you see faces in objects. But okay, anyway.
All right, do you want to
are
land
taking
this
off.
show? Do you want to finish it out? Can I just go? What do you want to do?
What else did I have here? I had North Korea and Nephilim.
I'll let you do North Korea and Nephilim and finish out the show.
Okay, real quick. North Korea.
No, I'm leaving.
North.
And you
okay,
can
you're leaving.
finish out the show.
All right. Oh, well, you're racist, is what we get. The Asians. Leave the Asians here. Leave me
I
and
just
Kim
can't
Jong-un.
stand it. I'm just so angry. Just so angry at America's worst, most powerful enemy, Kim Jong-un. Look at that picture of him. He looks like a chubby-faced J.D. Vance, honestly. There's probably a great J.D. Vance meme.
Kim Jong-un. Yeah, you need a Kim Jong Vance.
Yeah.
Or JD. All right, you go do your thing.
All right,
Have fun.
everybody. Tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage. I'm out of here.
All right,
Bye.
he's leaving the cage. He's leaving the cage. There you go. Ha I am alone now. I can do what I want. Okay, so this is coming from the mirror.co.uk. I thought it was pretty funny. The headline here is Kim Jong-un caught disguising North Korea military base as a golf course. It says North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has built a new missile base and disguised it as a golf course. Satellite photos show fairways, bunkers, and putting greens near a recently demolished Kim family mansion in southern Pyongyang. But experts say it conceals secret launch pads and missiles. Analysts have concluded the supreme leader, whose father famously claimed to have scored 11 holes in one in his first ever golf round, wants to use the site to target missiles at his enemies. You know the great thing about dictators? Oh gosh, that's going to be clipped somewhere. The great thing, Gons loves dictators. No, it's this lore making. You know, when you have a leader, when you have a supreme leader of anything, you can't talk bad about him, right? But you also have to embellish certain things to build the mythology. And this is actually true for the United States as well. If you start digging into a little bit of the history of the U.S. and going beneath the surface of what's taught, in your history books or your elementary schools, you find that, guys like George Washington, yes, great guy who helped found the country and all this kind of stuff, but also deist and, maybe had some occult views on certain things or esoteric perspectives on things, which is why he's immortalized in the rotunda at the Capitol with the apotheosis of George Washington, basically saying he became a god. He ascended to becoming a god because of his actions here on Earth. So things like that, So there's always mythology built around these characters, these individuals. And so I think it's a funny one, or make it more believable, though. 11 holes in ones. The very first time his father went golfing, I don't know about that. But anyway, let's continue on here. Top analyst Sam Layer said, quote, "It seems the base has been disguised as a golf course by pouring concrete launch pads in fields and then covering them with turf or grass, manicured to have the appearance of a golf course. Moreover, sand traps have been added throughout the field with the launch pads. The large sections of concrete are one indication that it is a missile launch site." All right. He says that there are a number of other signs that give away the true purpose of the site. These include a 36-meter tall building nearby, large enough to test long-range missile launchers, and wide radius turns added to the roads for large transporters, reports The Sun. And it goes on and on here. We don't have to get into all the details. But it makes me wonder, because you don't really, the mainstream, or this is the sun.co.uk, which is, we've identified places like that, the Sun, dailymail.co.uk. These outlets seem to be a little more on the fringes, but they usually have some kind of story ahead of the mainstream and even the alt stream sometimes. I mean, I guess the alt stream picks up on some of these stories, but they present these stories that are a little bit wacky, a little bit weird, maybe a little off the cuff, but they get it out there because maybe they're testing the waters, who knows exactly what. But it makes me wonder, okay, first of all, who cares if Kim Jong-un is hiding a military or missile testing site as a golf course? I mean, maybe it's just, maybe it's not hiding. Maybe it's just a way to, I don't know, take advantage of the situation of having a missile launch location and, liking golf. Like, hey, I like golf. Maybe I can put a little course in or a little hole here, a little green over here. So it could be just that. But it also makes me wonder, what places in the United States or around the world have military installments that are disguised as something else? And maybe golf courses, maybe every golf course across the United States is simply a military base of some kind that's covered up. You never know. But I do have somebody that I think would be perfect to figure out what's going on. I don't know if this will happen, but it should.
Shill for sure.
They should send Chris Cillizza, we call him Shillzilla here, to North Korea. Chris Cillizza is the guy we've been following from CNN. He left CNN and was on his own for a little while, got with a think tank, did his independent thing. Now he's, I think he's working with News Nation. So we've watched him transform from mainstream media to independent, quote unquote, to alt media, which is more mainstream with News Nation. So, but he has a book about sports and presidents. And, it's kind of mixing the two things that he loves most, which is politics and sports. And this is a great, great setup to go into North Korea, go to the golf course, ask Kim Jong-un some questions. I think it can happen. I think that's the best possible outcome of this whole situation. So that's just my suggestion. I don't know that will be taken seriously by anybody, but if you want to entertain us here in the Canarium, social engineers and controllers out there, send Chris Cillizza to North Korea to get to the bottom of this golf course that's hiding a military missile test site. So there you go. All right, one more story here. And this, it's a couple different things. This is a Nephilim update, but it's also a CRISPR update.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
CRISPR. Cas9.
Coming from theconversation.com, the headline is "Woolly mice are a first step to resurrecting mammoths, but there's a very long way to go." Of course, many people have discussed the company that's mentioned here, Colossal Laboratories and Biosciences, for being on this pursuit of resurrecting the woolly mammoth. Now, we covered this before it got really popular on the internet, I don't know, a couple years ago maybe, this idea of de-extinction, which is, if successfully implemented, would allow us to bring back any species from the dead. And it means no animal could go truly extinct as long as we can obtain its DNA. And, of course, it brings up all kinds of questions about true resurrection, in Christ and all these kinds of things. Not questions, but, a counterfeit type of version of that going on that we've been tracking for a long time as well. But one of the things that was used here was CRISPR technology. So let me just give a little rundown of the story here. U.S. biotechnology company Colossal Laboratories and Biosciences has a radical proposal. It wants to resurrect the woolly mammoth from extinction in a preprint paper published on March 4th. Preprint paper published. Public-private partnerships. Scientists at Colossal report making a significant step towards this objective. They genetically modified the DNA of mice to give them mammoth-like traits in their hair shape, color, and length. Now, there's a picture at the top here of a really fluffy-looking mouse, and apparently this is the genetically altered mouse, where it's got some, I don't know, woolly mammoth-y style fluffy hair. I don't know about the rest of it, though. The hair is one thing. The hair shape and color, sure. Oh, I guess it's the hair length. Okay. So it's the hair length. So it's all about the hair. It's a hairy... woolly mammoths are hairy, and so they made a hairy mouse. And so, yes, they talk about de-extinction. And by testing out their methods in a familiar laboratory animal, the researchers can make sure they work before applying them to Asian elephants, the closest living relatives of the mammoth. However, mammoths were heavily adapted to a cold climate and biome. They go on and on about how it was cold back then. So if you resurrect the mammoth as they were back then, they may not survive because they're not adept to living in warmer climates, as climate change burns the earth. And it says here, in order to generate their beauty prize-worthy mice, Colossal's scientists used a range of highly advanced genome editing techniques to modify the sequence of DNA in the mouse. Regions of mouse DNA can be changed so they resemble genes in other organisms, such as woolly mammoth. These techniques are collectively a multiplex editing, known collectively as multiplex editing. It includes the best-known method, CRISPR-Cas9. That's right. That's what the jingle is. I'm going to play the jingle again.
You can't take the
CRISPR.
You can't take the
Cas9. That was one of our old jingles. One of our, I don't know if it's our first jingle. Clearly, it's probably not our first, but it is one of the early jingles because we've been tracking CRISPR for a long time. Multiplex genome editing gives scientists the ability to target and affect several genes at once, up to 7 at a time in this case. Ooh, 7. The scientists modified 10 genes in total in their mice in different combinations. Interestingly, only 3 were changed to resemble genes found in the woolly mammoth. The other 7 had previously identified to cause hair variation in mice and produce traits somewhat similar to those found in mammoth hair. Although these are not mammoth gene variants, modifying them demonstrates the team's ability to edit several genes at once through multiplex editing. So it wasn't even really a mammoth hair, woolly mammoth hair. It's just, hey, we can change stuff. It's weird, though. Like, I've read the Bible passages about the 10 horns and the 10 kings and the 7 horns and the 8th one. And as I read this with the 10 genes and 3 worked and 7 didn't. And it just it reminds me of reading those passages. 2 of the 3 mammoth-associated genes, KRT27 and TGFA, have previously been linked to hair texture based on comparisons with Asian elephants. Another gene, FABP2, is thought to have facilitated efficient fat metabolism in mammoths, a presumed evolutionary adaptation to cold. And so modifying the KR27 and TGFA hair genes in mice led to a change in texture, making some hairs longer and rougher and others wavier and zigzaggy. The fact that these gene modifications produced physical traits seen in mammoth hair provides a way of verifying the genes are indeed associated with changes in hair pattern and therefore contribute to the mammoth's distinctive woolness. But editing the mice so they had the FABP2 gene variant from mammoths led to no observable physical difference. Okay, now part of the reason why I like to bring stories like this is because of our particular worldview here at the Canarium, which has to do with Genesis 6. And I know I'm mostly preaching to the choir when it comes to people out there, but it's an issue that I think, and I've been harping on it for 12, 13 years now, and I can't put it down. I can't put it down because of stories like this where it just keeps happening, the genetic engineering era and messing with the building blocks of life. It really sheds light on creation, how it got here, and really God and his design for creation, and how we are really at the precipice of being like God or as gods, where in Genesis 3, the serpent lies to Eve and says, you'll be like God, you'll know good and evil, and all these kinds of things. Well, that ability to play God, technology and science is giving mankind those abilities. And so, or at least, maybe not those abilities to the fullest extent of God, obviously, but to some extent, more so than before. Before, I studied alchemy, historical alchemy for Age of Deceit 2, and it was really fascinating reading old documents from Pericles and like all these alchemists throughout history, because they were trying to figure out alchemy, right? They're trying to figure out how to turn base metals into gold, or how to create life out of dirt, and all these things. And, their methods were so rudimentary, and even, it was ridiculous, like mixing blood and other bodily liquids to try to create a homunculus or a golem. They didn't know what they were doing per se. But as science and technology has advanced in the last century, we've gone from that type of mixed blood in a flask to try to figure out how to create life to our laboratories, editing the genomic information in our DNA, in a living animal, even to test to see if, in fact, the mechanisms of creation are at that genetic level, which has proven to be true. And so messing with that is something that, at least in normal secular history, has not occurred. This type of messing with the genetics and the biology and the building blocks of life hasn't occurred as an intentional thing. But if you look at the Bible and you look at Genesis 6 and you read about the sons of God, the B'nai Ha-Elohim, that took human daughters, Adam's daughters, as wives, and they mated and they created this race of Nephilim. These were giants. Something was going on that wasn't supposed to go on. God said each after their own kind, and that clearly did not happen. Those boundaries between life or just beings on earth, or animals or plants, the boundaries were crossed. And so that is the only point of reference we have if we understand that supernatural context of Genesis 6 and how that shapes the entire narrative of the Old Testament and the New Testament, all the way to the return of Christ. We can see how science and technology reaching this level, it makes it a very biblical time that we're living in. And we are, exactly as Jesus said in Matthew 24, living in the days of Noah.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
And maybe the woolly mammoth is an example of that, where, Noah was around, and, maybe the woolly mammoth didn't want to get on the ark. God was like, hey, two animals. And the woolly mammoth was like, no, I'm staying with the Nephilim Satan worshipers or something. And they went extinct. And now, now all the principalities and powers are whispering into the ears of the scientists, and they want these scientists to resurrect their favorite, their favorite animal to ride or something. So there you go. That's the story with the woolly mammoth. They're messing with the mice, which we know they always do that before they roll out the big thing, the big event. And it's only a matter of time before we start seeing animals that are designer pets. I think that'll be a thing. We already have cloned pets, which I'm very suspicious of people who clone their dogs and stuff. Paris Hilton famously cloned her dog, I believe. Malay of Argentina. One of the reasons why everyone's gung ho on Malay and the chainsaw, and it's all fun. But there's one detail about Malay, who's the president of Argentina currently. He has I think he's got 5 or 6 cloned dogs of his old dog or something. And anytime you're cloning your pets, there's just something off about it, in my opinion. I mean, to each their own, but it's a little weird. It's just showing that we're moving towards this techno-populist movement or world, and the kinds of things science and technology are going to offer people are going to get stranger and stranger, and it brings up the ethical questions about whether we should be doing this. Clearly, from a biblical perspective, the answer is no, we should not. But the argument from the other side is, well, it's helping solve various problems, diseases, viruses, well, whatever, like whatever their excuse is, we're trying to help, people that are paraplegic or people that have lost limbs or people that have, whatever the excuse is, it's always for a good cause. It's always for the benefit of humanity. That's how it's being shaped. And ultimately, the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I believe that's the case here with a lot of the genetic engineering, because even though the people that are working on it are probably doing so to with the understanding that they're trying to figure out technologies and methods to help people, those same tools that can help people get from some kind of deficit to on par or whatever normal is, quote unquote, functional, society, a member of society, those same tools can be used to, quote unquote, enhance. And that's when the ethical questions come in. Is it unethical to design your own dog? I mean, we have been programmed for this type of thing for at least my generation has been programmed for it. Video games, building characters. I mean, almost every game, you got an avatar, you're building all kinds of traits into that character. Well, what if you can do that with your dog? I mean, you can already do it with your cars, right? You go on a Mercedes-Benz or Toyota website or something like that. You can pick colors. You can pick all the things. You can do it with shoes. And you can do it with everything. Why not your pets? That's probably the next step. And then why not your children? They can't get to the children one right away. It's going to be a little hard to do that one. But pets, I think, can be really at the forefront. We're already microchipping dogs, right? So it's only, a couple steps away before we... And cloning them. So only a stone's throw away from designer dogs or designer pets, which I think will another road sign that we're fast approaching or are already in the days of Noah. So there you go. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to touch on this episode? I don't think so. I don't know if I did a good job with the Bitcoin and the DDoS attack on X, the Dark Storm segment today. I felt really rushed because I knew Basil had to go. I don't know that there was anything else I necessarily wanted to say about it, but I feel like I fumbled through it. So if you go back and listen to that part, maybe understand that I felt the pressure. I did not perform very well, stumbling over my words and trying to figure out what I was trying to say. But the big takeaway with that whole thing was that, yes, we're in this sort of cyber warfare age. Fifth generation warfare becoming more tangible through the cyber medium, and the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve being announced by the United States signals a change in era from a more of actually, it's interesting because the soft war thesis presented by Jason P. Lowry is the idea that physical power, so explosions, whatever, building walls, actual combat on the field or in the air. These are different types of power projection, and physical force is a power projection tool. The nuclear weapon, a nuke is a perfect example because you press a button, you can make this big thing go boom and literally destroy the world, right? And so that is a lot of power you hold politically if you are the person or the people that have access to that button. So in the same way with Bitcoin, it reverses this problem that we've been having with software, where you have these people like Elon Musk, who's one of them, or Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, or what Jason P. Lowry calls neo-god kings, in the context of these are individuals who have a lot of power behind software that is way unbalanced from what a normal person has. Well, Bitcoin rebalances that power dynamic because you need to burn physical energy for the network to stay up and to operate properly with the proof of work system. This burning of the energy. And remember, a few years ago, people were saying, oh, Bitcoin's not going to work. It costs more than a country to keep the network up. Like, yeah, that's the point. The point is that you can't just willy-nilly cut and paste. You have an entire network of computers, which are physical objects in the physical world, distributed all around the world, maintaining a digital ledger. And actual energy has to be burned to maintain this digital ledger and maintain consensus amongst these machines. And it brings us back to a more honest form of power projection where controlling that power isn't centralized into one person that can press a button or one group that can, go into another country and blow it up or whatever. It's more distributed in the sense that anybody can purchase Bitcoin or get Bitcoin, hold on to it, and they're actually in control. In some ways, it's like their own little nuclear button in a sense. It also has its monetary and economic side to it, but I'm just talking in the context of this power projection thing with Jason P. Lowry. It creates power, brings power back to the people, or at least that's how he's framing it. So that's very fascinating to me, where once the White House announces this, the price tanks, the physical riots on the streets become a thing again, with the Tesla factories, burning of the Cybertruck being symbolic of this idea of we're in this next era of cyber warfare. And then the DDoS attacks on X, the platform that is being championed as the free speech platform. All of it together, to me, is an indication of where we're headed, more so in the cyber warfare. And part of it also is that now that the power is becoming more distributed amongst the people are also being dragged in to this conflict. In the past generations of warfare, it used to be that you really only needed the consensus of a select few to do something politically or, within the government or military. You didn't have to have the agreement of the country. Propaganda was the job to present to the country the reasons why you should be on board and support what we're doing. But you didn't really need their support, right? Because it was centralized power. Well, with decentralization being all the fad and these distributed computer systems and everything else, each individual now that participates on the internet has a voice, no matter how small it is, no matter how tiny room they get. We still, as people here, as random people, have a voice to spread on the internet whatever we want to. And participating in this game means that we are participating in this fifth generation cyber warfare. And so now that the game is being upped, we're like leveling up. Everybody's leveling up. It's like Mario. The first level is pretty easy, then you go into the dungeons, you go into the Koopa's castle or whatever. You got the levels keep getting harder and harder. That's the same thing here, where now it's going to get even worse. The attacks, the amount of DDoS attacks. That's why I think maybe this is also potentially either don't let any crisis go to waste moment, or the DDoS is actually being perpetrated by a neutral party, or maybe a social engineering group that is behind everything, the stage controllers, all that, to create a situation where X has to maybe reevaluate their infrastructure, maybe not right away, but as time goes on, to create a more distributed or decentralized infrastructure backend, which is, it goes against kind of Elon's ethos, because all of Elon's stuff is centralized. X, Starlink, Neuralink, Boring, all this stuff is centralized private corporations. So it goes against this idea of creating a distributed, fair type of system. But again, in theory, something like Bitcoin can bring the world to a place where more people can get involved in the distribution of at least cyber influence or virtual influence, in a sense. And this is why I think it's important for believers to own a little bit of crypto. And I know it's not for everybody, and there are certain ways you have to hold it. Don't just buy it on a Coinbase and leave it on Coinbase. You got to learn how to self-custody this stuff. And the reason is because the more that believers and people that have good ethics, and you don't even have to be a believer, but just people that have a good conscience and at least some kind of ethics, the more we can somewhat shape what happens with the internet in the following years to come. Now, ultimately, I think it's leading to some pretty crazy stuff. You know, we've talked about it all: transhumanism, mark of the beast, image of the beast. Even the Antichrist himself may be using these systems to express his power or display his power. I think it's the first horseman of the four horsemen that comes in. He's got a bow, but no arrow. The arrow is not mentioned. It's mentioned that he has a bow, which suggests that he doesn't necessarily have that arrow, but because he holds up the bow, everyone's scared. Everyone's kind of like, oh, he's got the weapon and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now. No Basil. I can ramble. I can rant forever on my own. But there you go. I just wanted to revisit some of that because I don't know if I articulated all of it very well earlier on. And then just one more point on that with the Elon Trump. I'm just going to read my notes here. Elon Trump are on the pro-Israel side, but they got the support of many who are pro-Palestine by proxy, not directly pro-Palestine, but proxy because they are politically against Israel or Zionism or Mossad. And so that automatically, in the context of the divide and conquer, places them in the pro-Palestine camp. So it's like these people that are truthers that are pointing out, hey, Mossad is bad. They're being lumped into this pro-Palestine group. And so there's an operation type of thing happening there, a herding, if you will, picking of the teams, which we've referenced in the context of World War III for a long time. And maybe this is part of that as well, where, hey, are you for Elon or not? There's no middle ground. You're either for free speech, but yeah, it comes with a Neuralink and all this other stuff that I'm not comfortable with. Yeah, but you want the other, you want Gavin Newsom in office? Well, not really. And so that's where the I'm not going to call it black pill. I don't think it's that intense, but just the ability to stay on the narrow path comes in because you see why is everything being so pulled to the left and why is the left so ridiculous? Well, it's probably to bring in the true technocrats that are going to run things and do so in a way that people are okay with. Right? People are okay with Elon Musk so long as they're able to have a little free speech on X or whatever, and they're okay with it. They'd rather have that than Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom, and so that sort of cringe factor of the left-right paradigm at the moment will continue on, and eventually the pendulum will swing back the other way eventually, and I feel like I've lived long enough to see a couple pendulum swings, and in hindsight, I wasn't paying attention to everything as a child, but nowadays when I look back and think, it's like, oh, you know what? Actually, in the early 2000s, the world was very conservative. Like there was liberal types of pockets like Hollywood and San Francisco, but they were counterculture. LA, San Francisco, New York, they were makers of culture, but they were being countercultural, or maybe not counterculture proper, but they were counter political culture. The establishment was this kind of, I don't know, boring, bureaucratic, neocon, Republican. It was just milquetoast, boring politics, right? And when Obama came in, it really spiced up politics and made it into more of a direct entertainment product rather than politics over here, entertainment over here, which I think Obama was a great setup for Trump, right? For Trump to come in. So regardless, all that being said, we live in some very interesting times. Keep your eyes on God because he is allowing all this to happen. Part of what we get criticized for on this show, or had been in the past, is that you guys laugh too much. You guys don't take anything seriously. These are serious issues. Yes, they are serious issues, but because I feel we have the peace of Christ, that we were able to lean into and tap into the truths that the Bible presents, God's love, God's justice. We get to lean into that stuff and be like, look, God God is allowing this. And not only that, God kind of told us that this is going to happen in so many ways. And he also showed us that things are going to work out in the end after the crazy stuff even happens. So there's really no anxiety in the grander picture of eternity. And I think it's important to keep in mind because it's easy to get lost in all the madness and craziness of the moment. Especially, we talked about the market prices, the market's going down. For me personally, I got some crypto in my portfolio. And yeah, I recognize that when I open my portfolio and it's all green and everything's pumping, it feels good. But also, I've been around long enough to know that a lot of times that is the false sense of security that you get. And I know this because here's a great example, okay? And there are memes about this in crypto Twitter and everything else. But this is a perfect example. Let's just say, okay, Bitcoin was hit $108,000, right? Okay. Now, a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, if somebody said, when Bitcoin was like $30,000, if somebody said, oh man, Bitcoin's going to hit $60,000, you would have said, you're crazy. That's insane. Well, it hit 60,000. Everyone went nuts. Yay, we're at 60,000. It went as high as 108,000, right? And now it's pulling back. It's going back down. And so now what's the price now? 78,000 or something like that. And people are just losing their minds. But really, we're back at the price that Bitcoin was a few months ago. It's just, we didn't just go straight up. We went back to what we were a few months ago. But people are prisoners of the moment. They don't have perspective. And so, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart. And that's the thing. You just start to recognize the psychological manipulation happening because 70 or 60,000 a few months ago was, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Now 60,000 is, oh, it's over. The whole thing is crashing. The whole thing is going to burn. And similarly, once we get back up to 108, everyone's going to be like, oh, this is amazing. But really, we're just back at where we were. So it's this endless cycle of keeping people chasing a carrot and giving them a feeling. That's what this is all about. It's not just psychological manipulation, but it's also emotional manipulation. That's what fifth generation warfare is. It has to tap into the emotions. That's why Trump's assassination attempt was so powerful, because it just gets at the heart of people that were moderates, people even on the left that were like, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but nobody should die over their politics. And of course, people do die over their politics all the time. But with Trump, it created this moment for everybody to stop and think, oh, wow, this guy could have been shot and he's still kind of pushing for the country. It strengthened the people that supported him. The moderates all started to move towards his support and so on. And a lot of the left now, not a lot, but a good amount of people from the left now either moving moderate or moving to the right. And so we're seeing this exodus. But it's a pendulum. It's a pendulum. It swings back and forth every time. And you just got to keep that in mind. You got to keep that eternal perspective. That's the one benefit of being a watchman. You're usually in higher ground. You're either in some kind of watchtower or you're, on a mountain or something looking over the hills or looking over the land, and you're able to see things coming a little bit earlier than everybody else. But that's the thing, and that's been my warning is that, hey, things change, we are in this blender, we're in this pendulum that gets swung around, and we don't have control over certain things. We can only control what we can control. And so let's not lose our minds over things that we can't control, like the price of an asset in a market or, whatever, what's going on in the news. Like, I know we're a news show, but really, we can't control the news. We're not controlling what's happening. We can react to it. And I think our job here has always been to keep things grounded, keep things biblical, keep the perspective eternal so that we're not freaking out. People can easily freak out over this stuff, and they do. I mean, it's all over the timeline. People are freaking out over everything. But we can point to Christ and say, hey, we're standing on solid rock here. We're not going to be moved so easily. So there you go. Okay, rant over. Hey, it's been a while since I had a little little rant like that. That felt pretty good. Hopefully, it made sense to everybody. I do want to thank some producers for coming in with their talent. Now, there's a few ways you can support the show: time, talent, and treasure. Obviously, treasure is something that keeps the lights on here, and we really appreciate all the producers coming in with their treasure, whether it's a one-time donation or a subscription to the T-shirt Council or the supply drop. I think we took down the Babysitters Club, but we do appreciate those people that are still there because it is still supporting the babysitter, and we're very grateful that people have stepped up to keep the show going. We are experiencing a little dip in all this stuff, but who's not? Like, the whole market is tanking. We understand that it's just a moment, but we appreciate everybody who's been supporting us financially, because it really, it's almost unreal. The whole thing has kind of been a miracle for my life and Basil's life that this is even a thing. So we truly appreciate it. Other ways you can support the show, though, if you go to canarycry.support, there's a button that says create art for the show. And that helps us build the culture behind the community here. And, let me get into, I'll say some things here because Basil's not here to hold me back. I can talk about things more freely. No, I'm just kidding. But I've been, call me a spy. Maybe not a spy. You have known, and I've mentioned in the past that I have a account in Web3 that is not like me. It's not like Gon's. It's not Face Like the Sun. It's not anything. It's actually something that, it's just a very neutral thing. If people know who that is out there, then they know. If they don't, then they don't. But it's okay. But I've been participating in Web3, and probably one of the biggest communities that's building in Web3. And I've noticed it's very similar to what we have set up here with Value for Value, where people just volunteer their time, their energy, and their money for a community. It's a little different, obviously, because it's kind of crypto-centric and it's monetary-centric. It's a different culture, and what the central message is different. Obviously, we're talking about Jesus here and pointing people to Christ, and Bible prophecy and all those things. But one thing I did notice is that a lot of people participate in art to help the community with culture. And that's what we do here as well. We are very good at that, actually. And that's the thing that I'm very optimistic about the Canarium moving forward. As Web3 becomes more common, we have something, and this is something that the people that are part of the Canary Cry Academy, they know this because I put it in the first module there. But the Canarium has something very unique that a lot of people, even like billionaire companies and corporations and institutions, try to create, which is a genuine community. We have a genuine community of believers out there, or not even believe. I mean, it doesn't have to be a believer, but most of the time they're followers of Jesus Christ in our case. A community of people that have come together and said, hey, we think Canary Cry News Talk, Canary Cry Radio, what Basil and I do here is important enough to support financially, to support with art, to support with their time and energy in the back end. That is something that does not happen. It just doesn't you can't manufacture it. People try, and maybe you can manufacture it for a little while, but it falls apart because for whatever reason. And watching the development of Web3 these last, I would say 3 or 4 years, there was about a year where I kind of stopped paying attention to it during the bear market because it was just too sad. It's too sad to watch. But I've noticed so many people try to form communities, and a lot of times they do, especially if there's a token attached to a community and they're like, hey, we're launching this token. Hey, check out this Telegram, and everyone's in there and it's great. There's thousands of people in the Telegram group, and then Discord chat, and there's thousands of people in Discord, and everyone's really excited, and we're community. And yeah, there's a lot of buzz and community, but then as time goes on, if the price of that token dumps, especially, boom, ghost town. Nobody's in Discord, nobody's in Telegram, nobody's talking about it just disappears. It's ghost town. And with Canary Cry News Talk, we're obviously not a coin, we're not a token or anything like that, but we, over the years, it's just incredible to me. It's truly a miracle of God to watch how, we've put in our work. We're grinders. Like Basil and I, we've faced criticism. We've faced all kinds of stuff, like people trying to sue us, all kinds of crazy stuff. And we've been through a lot, but we've been very persistent. The one thing that we have is this grind. It is daily. I know we're not broadcasting daily, but it's this daily grind of like, hey, we're just going to get up. We're going to sit on the saddle. We're going to do our work, and we're going to preach the gospel, and we're going to do these things. And the people that have recognized that have been around for a long time. Now, people have come and gone, of course, but those of you who have been around for a long time, a sincere thank you from the bottom of my heart and my family that you've stuck around. So I don't know why I'm going on this big long rant about the value for value, but I don't get to talk about value for value very much. So there's some pent up things there. So that being said, Canary Cry News Talk art submission. Go to canarycry.art. Submit your art. Help build the culture behind the community, because every little piece counts. We have, I think we can say thousands of pieces of art over the years from just people, kids, family members, whoever, artists, like real artists. It's just incredible to see the development of this over the years. And it's just one way to participate. A reason, especially for younger people, if you have a talent and you want to get your name out there, but it's kind of hard to do. This is one way to do it, in a sense, because you can get your name as an artist out there, but do it through the show. And, we've had people do that with their music and do that with their art and all kinds of things. So look at that. Techno King of Tesla, Elon Musk. This piece of art is old too. I think that was Ali who drew that. Very old image. But yeah, we've been on this type of technocratic takeover for a very, very long time. Okay. Time to thank some people for art. I got people that I need to thank from last episode as well. And let me go in order here. Let's see. Oh, yes. First up. Oh, I love this. We're thanking Sir Salmons, Knight of the Fishes. Thank you very much, Sir Salmons. He has a note here. Happy Monday, Canarium. It was last Monday, but it's okay. We'll pretend like it's this Monday. Happy Monday, Canarium. Start your week off with a fresh brewed cup of Cage Rattler coffee. Prayer request for the fishes. All right, prayer request here.
Praying Deucers, assemble!
Prayer request for the fishes, as we are mere weeks away from the birth of our second baby. Prayers that we can get everything ready ahead of the birth, strength and health for my wife, and for us financially. Little fishes ain't cheap. Ain't that the truth? Keep up the amazing work, Basil and Gons. Many blessings from the fishes. Thank you so much, Sir Salmons. And this piece of art, it's me. It's me. I actually look very cool in this. The haircut, I might have to show that hairstyle to my wife and say, hey, that's the haircut that I want. I don't know what they call it. It's kind of like shorter on the sides, a little bit froier on the top. And it's me sitting on a couch. It looks like I'm wearing a robe, and I have my Canary Cry News Talk mug, and it looks very early in the morning. There's a little sunrise, some bokeh effect sunrise lighting in the background, but it's kind of dark. Maybe I'm staring at a computer screen or a TV screen or something. Some purples and blues. And then there's the Cage Rattler coffee bag to the side on the table. And I'm taking a little sip of that coffee. And it says, it's wake up time. Very awesome. I love it. Thank you very much, Sir Salmons. Man, again, the talent is unbelievable in this community. It just blows me away every time. Thank you, Sir Salmons, and prayers to your family. And yeah, the wife. It's always the wife. It's all about the wife when it comes to childbirth. I've talked about this before, but when Kaya, my 8-year-old, she'll be 8 next week. The first samurai baby is going to be 8. Can you believe it? When she was born, we're in the delivery room and everything. 2 things crossed my mind. One, we are so created by God, because, oh my gosh, there's no way that this is just naturally happens. Second, men in that moment of childbirth, you feel there's a lot of mixed emotions, but one of the ones that really hit home for me, and I maybe this is just my personal thing, but it was, wow, we are helpless. We are like we're kind of worthless. We're kind of worthless when it comes to. I mean, I know we're not. We're not worthless. That's not what I'm saying. But you know, the women go through this incredible, painful thing, and they bring life into this world. And what does the man do? We just stand there. We stand there and watch. And you okay, honey? All right, breathe, honey. Breathe. I mean, I felt so useless. I was like, oh man, I feel like a bench warmer at a basketball game or something. So yes, prayers to your wife, and yes, that the child is born and everything works out well, and that the blessing comes home. So there you go. Thank you, Sir Salmons. Appreciate the art. Okay, moving on. We have a couple. Actually, this is the same piece here from Modern Day Bible Study. This is called. This is a note from them. This is called "Back to Form: Overbaked." I overheard on a call-in show people talking about addiction. Hope this song will help those with inspiration on how to surpass the suffering. Give your addictions to Yah, for only then will you humbly surrender to his will. Thank you so much, CCNT, for all that you do for the community you've been able to create. We are here on this earth to create in many different ways. Create podcasts, create music, create paintings, even create friends and family. Grateful for a longtime friend to send me this beat, and praise God for gifting everything, given both pain and courage. Praying for the righteous to stay strong in these changing and challenging times. In Jesus' name, amen. So be it. And I'm going to play a few seconds of this. I think it's a video, if I'm not mistaken. Let me try to find it. I actually lost it because of all the stuff that needs to get done. Okay, I might have to go over here and pull it up. I thought I had it ready. My apologies. I had to restart everything earlier today on my computer because things were lagging. Oh, I'm not even signed in. Oh boy, this might be a problem. I wonder if I can. You know what I will do is I'll play the video at the end, the full video, because there's some visuals that go along with it. But for the time being, just for now, I am going to play the audio. And during the outro of this episode, I will play the full video so people can watch. But here's a few seconds of this piece here that is called, oh my gosh, I lost the name of the thing. Back to Form: Overbaked. Here we go. Come on, play.
Sometimes this life can seem way too chaotic. Need to stop beating myself up for drinking that hypnotic, or tearing down those senses, continuously puffing the chronic. There's only one explanation for all this extra sonic. Man, I'm overbaked. Nah, see, I'm telling ya, I'm overbaked.
Aha, overbaked. Aha, I like it. I like the planned words. Okay, we're going to play the whole thing at the end, but there you go. There's a little taste of that. Thank you, Modern Day Bible Study. Appreciate you. I love that style. I like the style of the beats and I don't know, what do you call, is that technically rap? Is it rap? Is it spoken word? I don't know what the exact terminology is of that style, but I dig it. Appreciate it, Modern Day Bible Study. And we shall move on. Jonathan F. came in with a jingle today. That was nice of Jonathan F. And we have an introductory jingle for Jonathan F. to get things going.
Jonathan F.
And Jonathan F. sent in a Thursday jingle, I believe. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure. Yep. Thursday jingle, and it goes something like this.
It's Thursday, my dudes.
Today, Monday, feels an awful lot like a Monday. It's Thursday.
Very good. I love it. That's definitely something that Basil can use in during the call-in show on Thursdays. There you go. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. Appreciate it. We have another audio piece from Shoefly. Thank you, Shoefly. He's got a note. Hello, gentlemen. Here's some more scripture to music that I made. This time, Matthew 24, 3 through 14. I kind of went with a Shoefly version of spaghetti Western music. Hope you all enjoy. May God bless you. Thankful for your ministry and your insights. Shoefly. Well, Shoefly, thank you very much for that. Here's a few seconds of that. Again, we'll play the whole thing. Actually, yeah, I'll play a few seconds of that song here, the Matthew 24 track, and then we'll play the whole thing at the end.
Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately.
I like the Western feel on scripture. I like the Western feel. I always like, you know what I liked is the Western space mixture. There's a few of them out there, like Cowboy Bebop and a few others. The Western / space thing is kind of fun. But anyway, thank you very much, Shoefly. Appreciate it. Again, we'll play the whole thing at the end of the episode. And we have one. Is this the last one? Let me double check it. Oh, did I lose the connection before I was able to do it? Okay, this one. Let me double check here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this on the fly. This is the one negative of doing solo, and I'm sure Basil knows because he does the call-in show, and he's probably yapping while trying to multitask and do things at the same time, just like I am now. And here we go. This is from Eden Pearl. And the note reads, "Hi, Basil and Gons. I was making my daughter's lunch one day, and we talked about basil as a basil leaf. And since Gons is Japanese, she thought she could make him a rice bowl." And so she drew. We love and God bless Jessica P. Thank you, Jessica P. And let me get this image of me as a rice bowl. And Basil as a basil leaf. Here we go. For those of you watching at home, we have a drawing. It says Canary Cry at the top. On the top right, it says by Eden. And on the left is a basil leaf with a couple googly eyes. And it looks like, oh, those are glasses. Are those glasses or are those pink cheeks? Those are like cheek marks. I can't tell. I can't tell if those are part of his glasses or cheeks. I think it might be just be his cheeks. And then he's got a beak, kind of like a bird. So that's the basil as basil, or basil as basil. Basil as basil. And on the right is a bowl of rice. And that's Gons as Japanese rice. There's a bowl there. There's a face on the bowl. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a happy face. The same kind of cheeks there. I don't know if those are little hands, like little anime hands, like chibi anime hands, it looks like. And then the rice itself has a pair of eyes and those red cheek bubbles, as well as a little mouth. And what else is there? There's a little leaf in there. Maybe that's a little piece of basil leaf. And some chopsticks. So there you go. And in between, a heart. A heart, like a triple heart. Interesting. It's like a heart, but then the ends of the heart have another heart on it. And it also has a pair of eyes and a pair of big blushy cheeks and a little smiley mouth. So thank you very much, Eden. Appreciate it. And yeah, I think I'm going to use this on episode art coming up. So maybe Wednesday, you'll see us in how Eden imagined us to be. So thank you very much, Eden. And thank you to Jessica P., the mom, for allowing it to happen and for sending it in. Appreciate it. Okay, go to canarycry.art, submit some artwork, help us build the culture behind the community, and we may share. Part of me, I kind of want to move in a direction where, because right now I'm doing a lot of the episode art and I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I'm just, to be honest, folks, I'm just prompting up a little bit of art generation on AI, and I'm putting in some keywords from the episode, and I'm creating this background, and then I add art elements to it, whether it's the Canary Cry Newstalk logo, my Doginal dog, which, by the way, the Doginal dogs, which is a collection of 10,000 inscriptions on the Doge blockchain. One of the guests on the Joe Rogan podcast over the weekend, his name's Antonio Brown, former football player, former Pittsburgh Steeler. He wore a shirt with the Doginal dog face on it, and it was just there the whole time. And I think he brought it up one time in the conversation with Joe as well. But I think you're going to start seeing these pixelated dogs a lot more out there. So just keep that in mind that, yes, I do hold and own a Doginal dogs, maybe a couple Doginal dogs out there. So, that's what I always use as part of the art. It's not anything against anybody. It's just, it's just the thing that I chose to do. So if people start making art like the one made here by Eden, where it's kind of what am I trying to say? Not a biography, but like a side-by-side, like me and Basil next to each other, we will use it. We will absolutely use it for episode art. So look for that if you're interested. Submit some art. Submit some Basil and Gon's art. I would even want to see some people take that dog and make something out of it too. You can. Yeah, somebody said that I look like a brown turd, like a brown piece of poop with a crown on it. And I guess people can think that. I can understand. But there you go. That's it. I'm out of stories. I'm out of people. No, I have more people to thank. I got to thank people for their time as well. Starting off with the Clippies.
Clippy on those videos. Thanks.
Yes, the Clippy team, Courtney S., Jolmes, Kristen, thank you very much for continuing to clip from the episodes and providing short videos. We haven't had our big short form viral moment yet, but maybe one of these days we'll get there, and it'll all be thanks to the Clippy team. So thank you to them. We also want to thank the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Jade Bouncerson, thank you very much for doing the timestamps for Gov Unplugged, episode number 821. And I still laugh at that episode show notes because I've mentioned it before, but I come in here and I have a few set of stories that I want to cover on the show. And it's usually like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different topics or links. And, we'll pick and choose maybe like 3 of them or something. But last Wednesday, Basil came in and said, I got this thing. I got a thing. Like, all right. He goes, I got to put in a couple more links. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's normal. Basil will throw in a couple links. He threw in 15 links, folks. 15 links to cover Trump Shillzilla. That is just one of the things that, just a little under the hood. So thank you to the timestampers. Appreciate Jade Bouncerson and anybody else doing timestamps. Thank you so much. Let's see. Who else am I thanking in this episode? Reminders from Clank. Thank you, Clank. Oh, there's something I want Clank to look up. This reminds me. I know I should probably do this on a private email or something. But Clank, if you're listening, I am curious when I first stated that crypto is going to become political, because I remember saying it in 2024. It might have been like early 2024 when I actually said it on air. I think I posted about it in 2023, but it's just one of those things where, nobody cares that I said. I wasn't the only one thinking that, but just to go on record of like, I remember saying, hey guys, pay attention. Crypto is going to become very political. And here we are, the White House announcing a digital stockpile of Bitcoin, as well as a digital asset stockpile. I guess they're 2 separate things. You got the Bitcoin strategic reserve and the digital asset stockpile, which they can sell. Oh, you know what? I forgot another thing I was going to mention with the Bitcoin digital stockpile thing. I'll sneak it in here for people that are still here. Congratulations, you're getting a little bit more insight into that story. What I was going to mention was, because the Bitcoin that is in the strategic reserve is not Bitcoin that they're buying, it's Bitcoin that they had confiscated from crimes or whatever that, whatever the situation is. My whole thing is, let's not repeat 1920s, I forget the exact year. Maybe it was 1931. I forget the year, but the gold confiscation that happened in this country, they were not able to, because of the dollar, right? The dollar was established, or the fiat dollar was established in 1913, I believe, with the Federal Reserve being established. That really kickstarted this era of fiat currency. And at a certain point, everything was backed by gold up until the 1930s. No, 1971 is when it officially went off the gold standard. But I believe it was 1933 when they made common citizens holding gold illegal. And so the government gave everybody some paper dollars in exchange for the gold. And of course, what happened right after that? Gold prices skyrocket, right? And so the government issued fiat in exchange for people's gold. My whole thing with this Bitcoin strategic reserve is, let's not repeat history. Let's not get to a point. And this could really happen, folks. Like, I don't think people think about this, but right now, because of the Trump party and Republicans in control or whatever, it's unimaginable. But imagine Gavin Newsom or Ocasio-Cortez becomes the president in 2028 or 2032. And in front of him is this Bitcoin strategic reserve, and it's actually working. It's great. But you know what? People that own Bitcoin, they have too much power. They have too much. We need to control the thing. We can't let all these people have any kind of power. So let's make owning Bitcoin illegal. We'll give them some cash for it. We'll just completely repeat the 1930s and the gold confiscation that the government did. So that's my concern with this strategic stockpile. Great. They're only storing or holding the Bitcoin. They're not going to sell the Bitcoin that they gathered, the government, that they gathered from taking down crimes or taking down bad actors or whatever. Well, that can very much fly against the entire ethos of cryptocurrency if all of a sudden an unfavorable government bureaucrat thinks that owning Bitcoin should become illegal. And there you go, everybody that holds Bitcoin, you better give it up or you go to jail or whatever. That's a horrible situation to be in. So that was the other thing I wanted to mention. I got distracted when I was ranting earlier about it. So there you go. That's a little extra gem. That's what you can expect when I take over the show, is scattered thoughts all over, because I'm not used to just having the platform all to myself when it comes to Canary Cry News Talk. Let's see. What am I doing here? We have, let's see. What was I doing? Oh, we were thanking producers. Yes, Clank. Look it up. Look it up, Clank. Please do. Or show me how to look it up, because I'd be happy to try to find when I mentioned how crypto is going to become political in 2024 and beyond. Thank you, Jam, for the links. And thank you to all the people who help support the back end, whether it's on Telegram or on Discord or canarycry.community. You can go to canarycry.party and you'll find all the links, all 97 links we have to all the stuff that we got going on. You can find there. So there you go. Other than that, how long have we been going on this episode? Let me check. 3 hours. A little over 3 hours. Oh, wow, like 3:15. Okay, I think we're good. Hope everybody has a great day. Make sure to go out there, share the show with friends and family. We're a couple quirky guys. We're a little goofy. And, I know we're an acquired taste for many people. But, if people are looking, I'm always surprised to find out when people message us and email us and stuff, and they say, hey, you're the only place we get news. So if you guys stop doing it, then we just won't know what's going on. That to me is, it's two things. One, incredibly, I'm very proud of people that have decided to step away from all mainstream stuff and make that decision of like, hey, I'm not going to let my mind and my family's mind brew and ruminate with all this negative stuff that's out there. Kudos to you. But I also feel this tremendous sense of responsibility of like, okay, and Basil and I always bring this up, like, hey, we should do this story, that story. Usually the deciding factor is, okay, the people that are here that only get news from us, what's more important for them to know. And so we appreciate those people because it really helps us decide certain things and steer the ship over here. So thank you to those people. The people that you share the show with, most likely they already have some place where they're getting their news, right? They're getting it from either mainstream media or nowadays, you're getting it from, whatever it might be, another podcast or some influencers or something like that. And the only thing we offer that's different is that we preach the gospel as part of the overall perspective on things, but we also have this supernatural worldview about everything. And so that shapes how we analyze all this stuff. And I think we're built for this era, truly. And I know we're not big, we're not popular, we're not, none of those things. That's not what I mean. I mean, we're built to last throughout these iterations of change because we're so grounded in the truth of the word. But also we've looked at the spiritual mechanics, as Basil calls it. I think it's a good term for it. We've viewed the spiritual mechanics throughout the entire process, the existence of this podcast going on 13 years, which by the way, I think next Sunday, the 16th will be 14 years of Canary Cry. So there you go. That's a long time. We've been looking at all these world changing events through that lens of spiritual reality, spiritual mechanics. And so now when we're entering this era of 5th generation warfare, psychological warfare, emotional warfare, and monetary economic warfare, we're able to kind of look at it and say, oh, yeah, they're leveling up. The world is leveling up to this next stage, but we're sitting up here on a much, much higher perch, seeing everything happen. And it just, we're made for it. We're ready for it. And I don't know if there's a community out there that is as ready or as informed when it comes to a lot of these things from that perspective than us here. So kudos to everybody who's been around. Share it with friends, family, and sharing it, that takes a lot of courage too. I want to point that out because it's not easy to share a show like ours with its quirkiness and its weirdness and all that to friends and family because it is so weird and kind of off the cuff and whatever. So if you did share it with friends and family, thank you. If you're listening to this show because a friend or family shared it, let us know. Send us a note. Send a text to 877. What's the thing? Let me find it. Hold on. Let me just double check here. 877-740-3226. If you're not on the list, text Canary to 877-740-3226. And then send us a text about how you found out about the show. So we got something to read on air next time. All right. So you don't have to do any of that. What you can do is go right up to those friends, family, pets, whatever, grab them by the cage and shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah. That was Ultron bringing up Noah's flood. It's interesting. How come these Hollywood types, these Gnostics, how come they're aware of the Genesis 6 paradigm, but a majority of Jesus followers who say the book that they hold, the Bible, is supernatural and explains reality, how come they're not aware of it? I don't know. Maybe that's why we're here. Make more people aware of that stuff. Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday, the 12th the 12th of March. And happy National Mario Day? Is today Mario Day? Is that like Mario Brothers? Because that would be really interesting because I mentioned Mario, the levels earlier. Huh, all right. There you go. Mario and Luigi, who's also a psyop, that whole Luigi guy who shot the CEO. Anyway, there you go. See you on Wednesday. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate all of you. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
This is the way.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
And a resounding baka flies through the air across the world. Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Rattle their cage. They have a lot of people screaming randomly. Why don't you shout? It'll be their call out. They have a lot of people screaming randomly.
Go ahead and...
Why don't you shout?
Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "You see all these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" And Jesus answered them, "See that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come.
Sometimes this life can seem way too chaotic. Sometimes this life can seem way too chaotic. Need to stop beating myself up for drinking that hypnotic, or tearing down those senses, continuously pumping the chronic. There's only one explanation for all this extra sonic. Man, I'm overbaked. Nah, see, I'm telling ya, I'm overbaked. I'm overbaked. Sitting an additional month in the cozy mother's womb. Not ready for the world, or was I born to this earth too soon? Getting lost in the beauty with the sun and the moon. To sustain the planet of fragility, to find unmatched doom. Staying high to the sky, which has saved spirits from the tomb. trying to gather insight to save us from eternal gloom. Man, I'm overbaked. Nah, see, I'm telling y'all, I'm overbaked. Just can't take it anymore. I'm overbaked. Where's the respect when at war with control? The truth is selfishness for not understanding love's role. Responsibility for another creates a heartful, hurtful toll. To avoid the pain, you fill up an empty bowl with fear and drama of all the things you stole. Being responsible for your own actions helps those assumptions become dull. Try to see the inner playmate, for team player is our ultimate goal. But I won't cave in to your definition of war with control. Man, I'm overbaked. Nah, see, I'm telling y'all, I'm overbaked. Just can't take it anymore. I'm overbaked. Something's gotta be done. I'm overbaked. We gotta take action. You see the true emerald that lies within. Thank you for showing me that I'm overbaked.
Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, nor about your body, what you will put on. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? If then you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass, which is alive in the field today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? And do not seek what you are to eat and what you are to drink, nor be worried. For all the nations of the world seek after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, seek his kingdom, and these things will be added to you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Canary Crime News Talk, man, what's going on? Gotta turn it on, shows coming on live. VPN on when I'm going online. Anonymity, man, cryptocurrency. We got everything you need, get it 3 times a week. Jesus Christ the King, let the Holy Spirit speak. Battle in the cage, gotta set the captive free. Value for value, to me it's not free. Wish I had a longer streak, but this creativity, go fulfill the 3 T's. That's time, treasure, talent. Give it right back, put it right back in balance. Not right or left, we not with the distractions. Catastrophes are the classic techniques, all attacks of the enemy getting defeated underneath the feet of Jesus. Just believe us, media's trying to deceive ya. Gotta read between the lines till you see through the disguise. It's a slit reptilian eye sitting on top the pyramid. Got a myriad of topics, might be on a watch list. R.I.P. face like the sun, but you cannot stop this. Like the Lord's gonna come stop this beast system and this infinite wisdom. Yeah, when the time is right, yeah, we're gonna take flight like a thief in the night. So I gotta get it right. I gotta repent and sit patient. Waiting for supply drop. Google eyes don't blink, man. I need some eye drops. Google mind deep thinking for the AI thoughts. Yeah, Basil, Gons, Basil, Gons, Basil, Gons. You know what's going on. Basil, Gons, Basil, Gons. Canary Crime News Talk, man, what's going on. Basil, Gons, Basil, Gons. And you know what's going on. Basil, Gons, Basil. Canary Crime News Talk, man, what's going on.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.